Good morning. Good morning, everybody. We are back. The white fan is already up, so I apologize, y'all. I'm not at home today. So I have to do I wanted to start at 9 just to be sure because I'm babysitting my little cousins. They're 4 years old, identical twins. And Lord, they've been giving me a run for my money. Not really. Not really. But child, I woke up. I thought they were asleep. I woke up at 2 a.m. They were on their tablets, child. I took their tablets from them. I said, Lord, I forgot what it was like to have like toddlers that age. So shout out to all of you parents at home with toddlers. I know I always say, "Oh, I want a baby. I want a baby." I forget that, they grow up. Hey, Forrest. Now, Forrest, I need slow mode. I need slow mode. Taz, I missed y'all too. Let's be a TT Mail is in full effect and child. They were really good as babies and it's not terrible. It's not terrible, but child, I forgot how babies like to run around. How oh my y'all. These little babies have reminded me they threw a fit, baby. I'm talking about screaming. Fit, okay? And I couldn't find their remote to turn the TV on. I think their brother got up and finally did it. But listen, I'm here though. I made it. Good morning. Good morning. I'm so happy to be back. I don't know if all of you heard y'all know I've been missing court because my smoke detectors were going off. I got the smoke detectors changed and then I was still hearing the beeping. So I was just really stressed. I'm like, listen, I can't keep missing streaming the trial. I just can't keep doing this. So Friday after wind down, yeah, I did wind down Fridays on my patio. I was hot. I was trying to make sure I'm not sweating. Like it was a lot. I go in my house and I started looking for the beep because, okay, maybe something else needs a battery change or whatever. Y'all tell me why. I ended up like closing one of the old smoke detectors that we took down. It made this really loud noise. And I was like, oh, okay. I got up about steps. And I told Mariah, I said, girl, I think I know what the beeping is. I know what the beeping is. By Ash. Y'all, the beeping was the old smoke detectors. I'm still pissed about that. Why didn't I think to take the batteries out of the old smoke detectors? Because essentially it was letting me know the battery was dying in the old smoke detectors. I missed court 2-3 days last week because of old smoke detectors sitting on my kitchen counter. I mean, I'll never make the mistake again, but talking about feeling dumb as hell. Hey, Kaylin. Kaylin, I hope you picking up that camera and just starting the blog because I saw you say something about you didn't know where to start. You've been doing a really great job, so just keep it going. I kind of feel like you, Kaylin, because Mariah and I, we're starting our channel, and I kind of feel like that. Sitting on the counter, y'all. Sitting, maybe so, but y'all, they were sitting on the counter, and I was so pissed because so Mariah's the counter they were sitting on is right by my garage door. So she was putting her ear to the wall, like in between the garage door and the counter. She said, it's right here, like it's inside the wall. I started thinking it was the fridge, something. Ash, please do it because it makes no sense. Erica, it's okay. It's okay, y'all. So long story short, there's no beeping in my house. But when I tell y'all I'm still a little paranoid, like, is it gonna start again? Is it gonna start again on me? Like there's no beeping. Thank you, Brita. Thank you, guys. But Lord, y'all, it was when I tell you, I think I spent all weekend randomly hollering. I can't believe it was the smoke detectors on the damn counter. Yeah, it was just really, it was a long weekend because I was just so bothered. And then you know how like you have plans. I plan to do things online this weekend. Child. Oh, let me tell you, when I got off live on Friday, y'all know well, if you were on my live, you know, my bed had been sitting on the ground. I mean, on the floor. Child, while we were on wind down, I got done paper plate, put my bed up. I didn't fall through it. That's a positive. I did not fall through the bed. I slept in it Friday to Saturday. I slept in it on Friday. I slept on it Saturday. I have not fallen through the bed. So, you know, a win is a win. Now, if for whatever chance I do fall through that bed, I will let you know because he doesn't like to use instructions. And I don't think there were instructions in the bag with the parts, but the important thing is the bed is up now. So excited about that. So he decided to barbecue over the weekend. So that's why I wasn't online on Saturday. And then I had to drive an hour to come over here and babysit the twins. So I have the twins until tomorrow morning. But yes, y'all, it's been a lot. I'm ready for my regular schedule. What's my schedule? Wake up, have breakfast. Oh, yeah, wake up, have breakfast, hop on my stream. I'm ready for that schedule because it hasn't been that's my norm. That has been my norm since this trial started. I'm ready to get back on my normal schedule. And then let's not even forget how sore my body is. I can barely lift my arms. Okay. It feels like I've been beat. It feels like I have been beat just bad. So we have to think about that too. Y'all know, working out with Mariah. She's not the easiest person to work out with. And so I feel like I've been beat. Good morning, everyone that is joining. Thank you guys. I'm so happy to have you all here. So good to be back with you all. Good morning, everyone. So I did watch a recap of the Lord You Know, speaking about Dr. Wolf. And I'm actually excited. I'm really excited to watch him because I have seen clips of what he showed during his testimony, and it looks really, really, really good. I know that's right, Bia. Well, Bia, she wants to start going to the gym before my streams. I said I stream at 8:45 a.m. I said if we go to the gym before my streams, I gotta get there about 5. She said, "Yep." Let me stop. She's here with me too. She came to help me with the twins. Let me stop before she wake up and she come in here and start on some foolishness. Before my streams, y'all, she wants me to get up at 5 and go to the gym. And I watch him almost every day after court. I fall asleep to him because I love getting the lawyer's point of view, an objective lawyer's point of view from what happened in court. And I do like how he tries to play both sides. I can appreciate that. Oh, okay, I never looked at it that way. I can appreciate that. And I'm going to try. Good morning, Amy. Thank you. I'm going to have to. Bia, I'm going to try. I'm going to try. She had me download Lose It. Do any of you count calories in here? I counted what I ate yesterday. And damn it, I think I'm going to have to change my breakfast around. Did y'all know the 2 sausage patties is over 200 calories? If you drink a drink, some drinks can be, I think I had a peach crush. I wasn't supposed to have it, but my cousin had them over here. 190 damn calories. I said, what the hell am I supposed to eat? Brianna, count calories will have you depressed, disgusted. Okay? It will have you disgusted. Child. And micros. I don't even know what that is, Nicole. But what? You trying to gain muscle? Bia, she has us drinking creatine. So we drink creatine. I need to get my water actually, but she puts it in our water. Oh wow, Black shit. Yeah, I learned if I don't count the calories, then the calories don't count. That's cute. You track, yeah, I don't know what micros and macros are. I'm gonna have to look that up because I sure hate for y'all to come in this chat talking about it and I don't know what it is. I'm gonna go figure that out. Mia said I used to, I don't count anymore. I get too stressed. Mia, I was stressed. She said, Mama, enter your food in. So because we traveled, we did stop and get some food, and we're not supposed to be eating out, but we were traveling to my cousin's house. So it was Sunday. We went to churches. I had a little two-piece. I had a two-piece. That two-piece cost me damn near 600 calories. 600. I'm ready to get back home. Let me eat out my fridge. That two-piece was 600 calories. I said, what the? When you're not counting them and you're just eating, I don't think I ever thought about how bad the food, or how many calories the food is. I don't want to say bad. That two-piece cost me 600. I said, wait a minute. But it did tell me, I know my reunion is October the 10th, 11th, and 12th. I should be at my ideal weight by September 29th. Right in time. I mean, I can keep it down for those little 2 weeks. Yes, Khalees, I was looking at those too. It gave me like a protein guide and everything. I don't count calories, but I eat pretty healthy. Gwen, I'm hoping the counting calories thing will kind of help me just get on track and just start making me be more mindful of what I eat, because I felt like, oh, I do okay. That calorie counter said, no, you don't. No. It said, no, you don't. I think adding more protein. She has us adding protein. We drink the creatine. What else does she have us doing? Of course, getting our water intake correct, things like that. But I just didn't realize how many calories these little quick meals that we go get from fast food. Because when I tell you, I don't think I'll eat another two-piece for a while. It's not, I don't even think it's a Church's on my side of town. Yeah, I don't think there's one on my side of town or near me, which is good, but I don't think I want anybody's two-piece. Now, Anna, I am going to start prepping. Because I think fast food, we eat it because it's convenient. And convenient doesn't always mean healthy. So I do want to get to meal prepping. I do better when I meal prep. Have my smoothies in the morning. I just do better doing those things. Oh, Gwen. Gwen, how long have you been in England? Brianna, you sound like Mariah. Oh, not bad. Starting about 9:15. Hold on, y'all. Let's get some sound.
But now open, you may be seated.
I'm definitely screaming FTV.
Hi, good morning.
Come in like she been doing some work. Look at her.
So I just saw a transcript that was placed here on maybe reference this morning, and there's a motion to limit Dr. Rentschler that I just got that I'm not prepared for. So that we'll do later today, okay? All right. So the Commonwealth's motion to call witnesses in rebuttal.
What?
I've read everything. Ms. Little, I appreciate you getting your opposition to me. I think I had it by Saturday morning, so I appreciate it. I read all the cases on it. Does the defense want to be heard any further on this?
What?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor.
Okay.
With regard to Dr. Crosby and Ms. Coons, as the court
Speak into a microphone. Speak into a microphone.
Go to a mic, Miss Little. Bangs. Get to the mic.
with regard to Dr. Crosby and Ms. Coon, the Commonwealth has been on notice that the defendant intends to present a defense regarding the arm injuries, that this was caused by a dog bite. They have been on notice of that, not just for months, but for years.
Years.
That was presented at the first trial. The Commonwealth does not have a right to rebut information that they have been on notice of from the start of the case. So their decision to wait for rebuttal to call these two witnesses is improper, and we're asking the court to exclude their testimony.
Why would they do that?
As it relates to Dr. Welcher, the scope of his testimony, our request is that that be limited to very specific information, specifically responding to the new testing that ARCA has done. As the court knows, the Commonwealth has proposed a number of new testing ideas, as well as information that is greatly outside the scope of what ARCA intends to testify to.
What?
And so we're asking that the court limit their testimony from engaging in new testing that has nothing to do with what ARCA has testified about at this trial. With regard to Dr. Welcher's testimony, the court has made very, very strong rulings that Dr. Wolf, as well as Dr. Rentschler, are not allowed to speak to the credibility of Dr. Welcher himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the information that the Commonwealth proposes is to directly attack the testimony of Dr. Wolf and Dr. Rentschler. And under the court's rulings, we're asking that the court limit that scope as well.
And I told you I would.
Thank you.
All right.
That's all,
Brennan.
Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Brennan, do you want to be heard?
Regarding DNA evidence, evidence
DNA.
cannot be rebutted until it is introduced, because the defense has a number of potential ideas of areas of testimony. Does not compel the Commonwealth to try to anticipate or deflect attacks, especially if they're meritless. And so the issue of dogs and dog DNA does not become relevant until the defense calls a so-called dog expert. They raise
So-called
the
is
issue,
crazy.
it's proper grounds for rebuttal. There are three witnesses, Ms. Hartnett, UC Davis, and Dr. Crosby. If Dr. La Posada is precluded from testifying about dog bites, we would not call Dr. Crosby as a witness. However, regardless of what Dr. La Posada says, we would ask to call Ms. Hartnett and to call
Why,
Ms.
y'all?
Lucy
Why
Davis.
ain't doing
It
this?
is an issue that directly affects the assessment of Dr. Russell, the very expert they chose to call in the case in chief, and so we can now, from my perspective, properly rebut it. The second issue regarding Dr. Welcher, limited to the new information. You will see from the testimony, or have heard, most of the testimony is new, but we understand it's limited. We don't expect Dr. Welcher to have a direct comment on the credibility of any witnesses, but he will address the tests, how he believes would be the proper procedure.
He didn't
and
do
the
it.
issues that have been raised on direct
He-
examination,
oh,
but
my
he will not in any way have a comment on the credibility of the defense experts.
All right. So the case law supports me allowing this motion. I'm allowing the Commonwealth's motion. So the motion for rebuttal witnesses is allowed. Mr. Brennan has
Knew he
said
was
he
gonna do that.
will not call Dr. Crosby, depending on the testimony that comes in. So,
I knew she was gonna do that shit. I'm
all right,
so sick of her.
Jim, I'm just going
I
to give you
can't
this.
stand this one.
Thank you.
Oh, I can't stand Bev, y'all.
All right, so the motion regarding the testimony of Dr. Lopesada.
It's like she really. Oh, I can't stand this lady.
So the
Right.
Commonwealth is moving specifically to exclude, there's a motion to exclude irrelevant photographs. We'll deal with that after the main motion to exclude certain testimony. So if we
Bev
start
made
on
Bill
page
come
7
out to the front
of
of
the
her.
report, that's where you want me to start, Mr. Brennan?
She never says it can't.
Okay, page 7 of your report. I have some questions. So, Mr. Jackson, Dr. La Posada
we go.
cannot opine about the investigation of the case, the law enforcement investigation. She does that throughout her report.
I can't stand this lady.
So she kind of opined to that. But when we get to page 7, what do you say is out, Mr. Brennan? I mean, I've gone through it. I know what I think, but it's the Commonwealth's motion.
She should not be a
I think
judge.
that her opinion about no object being present to cause a pattern injury is appropriate.
And where are you, on page 7, the first paragraph?
Yes, photographs and descriptions of the site. It is the,
All right, I might have a different page 7. So my page 7, okay. Okay, yep.
Dr. Lapasada proposed opinion that photographs and description of the site where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found show no object capable of producing a pattern injury, I think is appropriate. His body was found on flat, grassy ground, probably frozen and covered with a minimal amount of snow. I agree is appropriate. It is the next paragraph where it begins in the middle of the sentence. It is logical to conclude that Mr. O'Keefe was injured elsewhere and his body was moved to the front line. There is no basis in fact for that. Opinion.
Yeah.
We left the argument.
So I told you that on Friday, Mr. Jackson. Great, okay, so that's out. And Mr. Jackson, again, the medical examiner erred in her diagnosis of hypothermia. Again, that's the improper critiquing of the expert. She can say that it wasn't hypothermia, obviously. Okay, so same with the first sentence of the next paragraph, the Wisniewski spots were misidentified. Great, all right, so we can probably do this much quicker then. All right. All right, so page 8 is fine. So now we go to page 10.
They are, Kayla. You already see where this is going.
So this is the dog bites. So if you want to pick it up at, what does the Commonwealth say about this?
At this point, there's no basis provided that she has the training, expertise, methodology to provide an opinion regarding a dog bite.
What's the offer of proof on this, Mr. Jackson?
It will be more extensive when I establish the foundation testimony, but basically she's not only done autopsies involving dog bites, the wound pattern recognition related to the source of those dog bites. She's also taught classes on wound pattern recognition, source of coming up with diagnoses concerning the source of specific pattern wounds. She has a methodology that she uses. Medical school classes, if I didn't mention the courses.
What does she teach? Is this in her CV? Because I didn't see it.
It will be in her foundation that I will lay in front of the jury.
All right.
I don't see any opinions unless and until the foundation is properly laid, but she has extensive experience, not only with specifically with autopsies that she's conducted herself, but supervising autopsies of others that deal with pattern recognition, the methodology involved with pattern recognition.
How about dog bites?
Dog bites, specifically 5 autopsies. I believe she will indicate that she's done 5
Look at
autopsies.
Bev trying to exclude her.
Dog bites.
Okay.
A medical school class
Bev want to exclude her so bad, but then she had it also up there.
Dog bite recognition.
All right, so we'll need a short voir dire of her on this before she testifies.
I knew it.
Because the court doesn't believe that I can lay the foundation in front of the jury.
There's, come on.
I won't ask any ultimate question until we go to sidebar.
Because why you need a voir dire?
Short circuit that.
Well, she's very specific about the dog bites here. So if she's seen 5 autopsies with dog bites, I'm not inclined to give it to you. Okay? Seen only 5 in her 40 years or whatever.
She's only seen 5. She's performed 5 autopsies.
Okay, so that's why we need a voir dire. So we need a very
No,
short
we
voir
need a
dire.
voir
Also
dire.
qualified on the issue of dog bite wound pattern recognition in federal court as well.
Yo.
Okay.
She has a plethora of foundations.
Has that been provided to the Commonwealth in advance of today?
I don't know.
None of it has. So here's the difficulty, whether it's a voir dire or it's in front of the jury.
Y'all,
I
Bam
have
is
absolutely
showing
no
her
ability to
ass.
research and cross-examine her on dog bites. She can say she had 1 case or 50 cases, that she testified in state or federal court, or she took a class. I can't verify it, I can't contradict it. I have no ability to prepare for this witness about her basis, methodology, and experience in dog bites. What I have is her showing a couple pictures that she pulled from a book.
Bev don't want her in, baby, but Shannon got to get up there and line on his
So the idea
resume.
that she has a history or basis is going to be
Oh.
unacceptable because there's nothing I can do to contest it, and that's not appropriate. I should be able to research, get transcripts, vet, and be able to approach the witness on whether or not she actually has the reliability of education and experience. I can't do that if we call her an accident jury or a voir dire.
Right, that's where, if we want to compare apples to apples, Dr. Wolf, Azek Wolf, was allowed to testify, to specifically testify to the wound pattern, or his interpretation of wound pattern recognition back then. That was nowhere in his report. That was objected to by the defense. Mr. Alessi went to sidebar, strenuously objected, said this is nowhere in the report. We didn't have any notice of this, and the court said overruled.
Come on.
Testifies to the pattern.
Show Bev.
At least in his mind, you can cross-examine that line. There is no requirement that the Commonwealth have every single case that Dr. Lomasada has ever dealt with, dealing with.
No, we had an expert on dog bites who I allowed to testify as to dog bites based on, we had a whole, as you know, it was Mr. Leslie, I think 3 days with Dr. Russell on the voir dire. This is new to me. I'm going to have a short voir dire on to what she can testify to.
I have no problem with voir dire, I just wanted to short circuit it, but I have
So,
to entertain it.
all right, so let's go on to page
Bro, Bev
17.
is crazy.
Commonwealth has an objection to the third line. Mr. O'Keefe's pattern injuries on his right arm do not correspond to injuries that could have been produced by irregular fractured plastic pieces impacting his arm. She is not qualified as a reconstructionist or biomechanical engineer. She has tried in other courts and been rejected. She does not have the experience, the background, or the ability to do that improperly.
What do you say, Mr. Jackson?
Your Honor, I believe she does, as a medical examiner, have the experience, and it's the qualification, it's the specific job of, and the qualification of a medical examiner to opine on pattern injuries.
Leah,
Foundation
clean up.
is laid, especially as it relates to motor vehicle accidents. And now we're not talking about dog bites, which are a more defined subset of her overall experience. Now we're talking about motor vehicle incidents and accidents that she has specifically seen thousands of.
Okay.
Thousands, multiple thousands.
So-
If she does have the qualification to say, if the proper foundation is laid, that the wound pattern that I see on Mr. O'Keefe's arm is inconsistent with anything that I've seen in terms of a motor vehicle accident. I don't know if she can say-
Let's just find out how many motor vehicle accident autopsies she's done during that voir dire. What I have a question about is tail lights are typically made of durable polycarbonate or acrylic plastic. I would keep that out. I'd be inclined to allow in the injuries on his right arm do not correspond to injuries that could have been produced by plastic pieces impacting his arm. But let's hear about
That's
that.
appropriate. I wouldn't ask about polycarbonate. I have no intention of asking about that.
And also, the last sentence, I think it's okay, and we'll see with voir dire. Neither did his skin show any array of irregular, unpredictable, randomly scattered cuts and scrapes, assuming she has experience with autopsies of motor vehicle accidents. But I would keep out the part as would be expected from pieces of shattered tail light.
Why can't
Was there more on that?
I object to that because this is now yet another witness that is coming in under the guise of some type of specialty, but really for accident reconstruction.
All right, so let's see what she says on voir dire regarding her experience with accident victims. I think she gets more into the accident reconstruction
Really?
on the next page that I don't think is proper.
Alice, this is too much.
All right, so that whole first paragraph on the next page, you're not seeking to introduce.
Alessi is laughing because what the hell?
So at least the first, we're starting with the first sentence, yes, we would be seeking to introduce that. Pedestrian injuries produced by contact with motor vehicle include a component of tissue crushing force as the car profile protrusions connect.
Hey,
Basic,
Krona.
I believe that she does have the qualifications to opine about that. That's pretty standard, and that should be admitted.
She has absolutely no experience in accident reconstruction or the injuries. She is not a biomechanical, biomedical engineer. They have one, and he's going to testify to it.
Yeah, I have that as out, Mr. Jackson.
The reason that I believe that it's appropriate is because you don't have to be a biomechanical engineer to understand when you see, for instance, a no pedestrian accident, what are the results, especially if you've seen hundreds or maybe even thousands, what are the results that you typically see in the movement patterns? For instance, crushing forces, broken bones, fractured bones, crushed soft tissue, things of that nature, internal bleeding. That's the province of medical exam.
Okay.
That's exactly what they are trained to identify and to opine on.
Okay,
I
so
wouldn't get into things like, for instance, what she doesn't have the experience to do is say, when a car is involved in a rollover collision, these are the mechanical forces that are exerted on the body during a rollover, and the G forces that are subject, that the body is subject to in rollover, things of that nature. When a car is impacted head-on by another car, there are a number of G forces that are put upon the body, etc. Those are biomechanical issues.
Right.
Have nothing to do with her expertise, and I wouldn't be seeking anything like that. But once the body is removed from the car, and then it's on the autopsy table, that's where her expertise begins to fly.
okay,
She can talk about, and I believe she has the experience and the qualifications to talk about, what the body suffers at the hands of a vehicle, pedestrian, incident, or accident.
okay. So the first two sentences are out. The third sentence, she can testify that Mr. O'Keefe had no bruising on his arms or torso. And she can testify, and she cannot say that would have resulted from the impact with the SUV rear profile. She can say Mr. O'Keefe did not have bruises on his legs. She cannot say from bumper contact, but she can say as shown by dissection of leg tissue and muscle at autopsy. And she can't testify to anything else in that paragraph.
What? How is she able to say all of this stuff but not say why she's saying it?
Is the court ruling that she cannot say anything about the human body contacting a motor vehicle?
That's what it sounds like.
That sounds like what the court's saying.
No.
I think
That sounds like what the hell you're saying.
It is. You can put this in, what I said you could put in, can come in.
Come on,
And
AJ.
the rest
Don't back down
cannot.
real bad.
We could,
And just for point of clarification, if I ask her, would you expect, I'm just gonna make it a hypothetical.
Don't be doing all
Would
that
you
damn
expect
time.
if his legs were contacted by a moving vehicle, would you expect to see bruise or contusion?
what do you say about that?
I object. One, it's leading. Secondly,
Well, I'm not asking the question.
Secondly, this is asking to have Dr. Lavasada do accident reconstruction. She's not assessing a wound. I'd ask you to consider the case of Commonwealth versus Tompkins, appeals court. I think we provided at 105 Mass App 1124, 2025 case.
Y'all, please get the lights up. I didn't even notice the cut was gone.
Try to use Dr. Lavasada as a biomechanical accident reconstructionist. Trial judge did not credit her proffer and found that she failed to meet the requisite criteria pursuant to Daubert Lanigan. And so recently it's been found by at least another court that she is not competent to do this. Because she's a medical examiner, does not allow her to come in and start endorsing or vouching for the ARCA witnesses. They already have witnesses to do that. And so not only on page 18, going back to page 17, about the pattern injuries don't correspond to injuries to a light, she would only know that if she had the training
Where,
and experience.
I'm sorry, where,
You said on page 17, you would allow Mr. O'Keefe's pattern injuries on his right arm do not correspond to injuries that could have been produced by a regular fractured plastic pieces impacting his arm. That's not her role as a medical examiner. That is the role of a reconstruction or a biomechanical engineer. And she clearly is not competent, at least as cited by the appeals court, to have that type of.
Oh, they gonna bring that in, y'all.
So there's one thing to assess wounds, there's another to try to correlate or draw a distinction between the wounds in a car collision. It is essentially giving an opinion to the jury, he didn't get hit by a car. That is the core fundamental theory of the defense. This is simply trying to bootstrap another witness to give that opinion. That's improper.
All right. Sure.
Mr. Brennan's gonna cite the Tompkins case, he needs to cite the Tompkins case.
Ooh.
That dealt with a situation in which the witness was called and she was asked by the lawyers, specifically in that case, the people that called her, the lawyers that called her, to opine about blood-stain pattern recognition, blood spatter evidence on the driver's seat versus the passenger seat, and what her opinion was about who actually was driving the vehicle. It was a rollover collision in which people were ejected from the car. She was then asked to opine about bloodstain patterns in the driver's seat and whether that was more or less consistent with the blood, the originator of the
AJ did
blood.
his research, baby. I
One
love
particular
it.
individual, was he more likely in the driver's seat or the passenger seat at the time of the bleeding, and was it before or after the rollover? Very, very different set of facts. And of course, that is a biomechanical engineer's province. And the court was correct in saying, I'm not going to credit her testimony on that issue, but that's what she was asked. She opined on it, and the court said, I'm not going to credit her testimony.
All right, so
To do with this type of analysis and wound pattern recognition, which is what she's being asked to do.
so let's see with her voir dire this morning.
Okay.
She actually was allowed to testify about blood spatter. It is
Girl, I'm
reconstruction
16, baby.
testimony that she was not allowed to testify about.
I read the Superior Court judge's decision. I have not read the appeals court rescript, so I need to do that. I'd like to get going, but there are photographs of inside the garage. You intend to put this in through Dr. Lopesada?
No, not
Through whom?
Yeah, can I make this? With regard to these photos, well, ultimately, the officer will be shown them, correct? But they'll be introduced through our investigator who took the photos.
Look at that.
We intend to call that investigator after Dr. Wolf testifies.
Lauren, I just got back.
And what will that investigator say? These are photographs.
So he will testify to two subject areas. One would be took measurements from the street to the various entrances to 34 Fairview. You just have to testify about what those measurements were. And then we're
Yes,
two
Alice.
photographs.
Yes.
We have pared them down to, I think, 3 or 4.
Hey, Shanny.
Just of one establishing shot showing the garage from the street, and then a couple of photos showing the side entrance to the garage, the pedestrian entrance to the garage, which also shows the interior of the garage, including a step and a
For what purpose? How are they relevant?
I'm sorry?
How are they relevant?
So the defense is presenting a voting defense in this case. We are alleging that the police did not do a thorough investigation. They did not really investigate anyone other than Karen Reed. The Commonwealth's own evidence, including the testimony of Ian Whitman, is consistent with John O'Keefe after what they claim to be the trigger event in Dr. Welch's initial report. John O'Keefe walking in a westerly direction.
Yes,
which
Caitlin.
would be from Fairview Road to the house, taking approximately 36 steps over a distance of 25.4 meters, which is approximately 84 feet. That is consistent with him entering the house. It's consistent with him entering the garage. The police did not take
Look at
photos of the garage.
look at Peggy, y'all.
Is there a hard surface in the garage? Is there a ridge-like surface in the garage? And these are photos are introduced on that road issue to say that there was evidence in the house. If the police only went in there, they would have seen that, and that may have sent them in a different direction. So it's relevant for that purpose.
Do you want to weigh in on this?
Look at
It's
her.
not only
Hell, what you
relevant
asked him.
and not material, it's misleading. They are not seeking to have measurements from the flagpole to the door. They're trying to seek measurements from the driveway to the door. There is no evidence whatsoever John O'Keefe was ever on, near, or anywhere by the driveway. The evidence.
Brian Higgins said he came in.
While the data showed there was a turn westward, it didn't show movement westward. It did not. There was a measurement from the flagpole to the
Yeah, she not gonna lie
garage
to
door.
me.
That is something that I think would be appropriate. From the driveway, totally irrelevant. There's no evidence, no witness, no substantive evidence in this case that John O'Keefe went in the house.
His
went
phone
near the
says he
house,
was in the
and
house.
dropped off. They're relying simply on the fact that there were 37 steps. They have no idea what direction or where. what they want to do to argue this.
Where the
is
hell
to
else
show
would he go?
inside the garage, and then posit the theory that somehow John O'Keefe was killed in the garage, it was colder than it was in the regular house, that would account for the temperature on the battery. They have no
Hank already
evidence to support
knows.
that. You can't use Bowden as a panacea. You can't just say Bowden, they should have done what we want them to do. It is what is reasonable. The police went into the house.
Good
They
morning,
spoke to the
Keith.
occupants of the house. There was no evidence that Mr. O'Keefe went into the garage.
Your
If I
phone
were to take
evidence
a
puts him in the
photograph of
house.
Anybody else's garage in America and put it up in front of the jury. So this is going to create a mistaken, baseless argument that this evidence somehow shows that Mr. O'Keefe was A, in the garage, and B, he was injured in the garage. That's why they want to show it to Dr. Laposada. Couldn't some of these angles have caused the injury? Total speculation, no relevance at all, and it is just prone for an opportunity to mislead this jury.
She's not gonna let it in.
If I may respond in 4 ways. First of all, Mr. Brennan just informed this court that there was no evidence of movement of the phone. I'd like to quote his own witness. At 12:25:30, the device's bearing shifts to a westerly direction, as location records also show the
Period.
device moving west from the roadside
Period.
toward the house. So that was false. Secondly, with regard to, we should be measuring from the flagpole, our theory is not that he entered the house from the area of the flagpole. Our theory is that he was placed at that flagpole.
Come on now.
And as Mr. Brennan correctly points out, there's no evidence that they introduced as to where he was on the road
Nope.
prior to walking into the house in
Nope.
that westerly direction. Our theory is as good as his. He cannot prove anything to contradict our theory. The third thing is that Brian Nagel and Heather Maxson saw Karen Reed in her vehicle alone. The passenger seat was illuminated and empty. John O'Keefe was nowhere in the area of that vehicle.
Come on
He
now,
was not
babe.
in that vehicle. There's only one other place that he could be, and that is in the house. So finally, the fourth point, Your Honor, this court has continually always done, as the court should, a 403 analysis. The probative value we have established through their own witnesses. They called all these witnesses, and they established the foundation for the admission of these photos. There is no unfair prejudice. I would argue that anytime there's exculpatory evidence or a case that advances the defense theory, that's by definition going to prejudice the Commonwealth's case. This is not unfair prejudice. He is allowed, Mr. Brennan is allowed to cross-examine this witness and to make whatever arguments he wants to make about the likelihood of the garage being involved or not. But he does not and should not get the benefit of the fact that his investigation, the police investigation, didn't do what we just did. And this evidence should be admitted.
The argument is purely rhetorical. There's not one fact he offers. The witnesses that saw the car saw it in front of them. Nobody ever got out. A light
They drove
on
past the
means
car,
he wasn't
Hank.
near the car because they didn't see him in the front seat. So there is no evidence that Mr. O'Keefe went anywhere near the house, on the
Hank,
breezeway,
please.
in the door. It is speculative, it is baseless. They want to take that baseless argument and then bootstrap it to Dr. Laposada to further speculate that something in the garage that could have caused the injury.
Does something
That
happen,
is not
Hank?
Bowden. That is not a due process right. That's not 403. It's empty. It's no factual predicate whatsoever.
Okay, so,
The only other thing, just to put a cap on this, the location data circles, again, Mr. Brennan's own evidence, he introduced it, puts John O'Keefe in the house.
Sure does.
all right, so I'm going to allow you to do the measurements. These photos will mark for identification. The photos are not admissible.
Oh,
So-
bitch.
All right, Chrissy, can you just mark those, please?
I hate how she'll.
All right, let's bring the jury over. We will do, Mr. Jackson, how long will you be with Dr. Wolf?
Probably 20 minutes.
All right, and depending
Thank you, Lizard. Can we go?
on that. All right, so during the morning recess, we'll do the voir dire of Dr. Laposada. All right, bring them on over, please.
She won't put the pictures in. Oh, y'all, I do not care for Bev. I don't care for her. She really gives me Glanville vibes. Like she is really working with the prosecution. Girl, show me them pictures because I want to see what it looks like. talking about, oh, well, Hank getting up. Hank has been online too. Hank said they just want to thank you for becoming a new member, Miss Davis. She said, Hank said, they just want to just allude that something happened in that garage. And I hope, Peggy, I hope you hear them because something happened to your son in that home. I don't know what, I don't know exactly which room, but something happened to your son in that home. Hank knows it. Hank already knew the theory. Hank already knew the theory. Something happened. And I just damn it, y'all, we can't catch a break in this case. Listen, Key, you're not lying. Bev has outdone Glenville. Bev has outdone him. Yes, that is hard to do, Lauren, and she has done it. Oh, thank you, Miss Davis. Oh, I'm so annoyed because I really feel like Bev just doesn't give a damn. You know, it's almost like the officers involved in this case, there were no checks and balances. It feels like Bev doesn't have any checks and balances. How does she get to tell the witness what they get to say, what their opinion is? Especially if, hell, the good doctor, the ME for the Commonwealth, she also said it didn't present like an pedestrian accident. She's an ME. She was able to see this. She got to talk about why she felt this way. This is another ME. Why doesn't the ME get to say the same thing? Well, when I looked at this after thousands of autopsies, this just did not present like a pedestrian accident. Why don't they get to say that? And did you guys hear Hank say they want to talk about that garage because they want to say that that is probably why his temperature was as cold as it was. He really wasn't outside, but he was still in an area that was colder. Crystal, if I am the jury, once I hear all of this, we're already on the defense's case in chief. I really want to know why they didn't call Proctor. Why didn't I hear from Brian out? Why didn't I hear from the homeowner? Because in my mind, at the minimum, he should have been, I should at least hear what happened that night. Tell me he didn't come to your house. You didn't even put him on the stand for him to tell me that. Yes, Paris. And I don't know if Bev sees that because I do believe she's blinded. Bev is trying to, I believe Bev is like those people who believe Karen hit John O'Keefe and are not looking at the evidence. They just have this gut feeling that she did it. Bev is one of those people. Brittany, because I need to hear why he didn't wake up. I need to hear why the homeowner did not wake up. And I don't get to hear that. I don't get to hear from anyone else. I see a video and it's a lot of people at the waterfall. I don't get to hear from those people. What was the mood like? Why am I only hearing from one person? Why is Jen the only one I'm hearing from? I need to hear that. Well, Kay, you know what I'm gonna watch? Let's watch how the voir dire goes. I do believe Bev might act like Paige. I remember when they questioned Kayla just randomly, and Paige just started going at her, and you was like, "Damn, hold on, who's asking the questions today?" Bev is gonna start. Just watch. Just watch. I don't understand why. Why does she need a voir dire? Yeah, who was it they wanted a voir dire of and Paige wouldn't give it to him? Was it Welcher? I think it was Welcher. Sharonda, we know he wasn't asleep. How could you sleep? You just killed someone. He wasn't asleep. Hey, Nikki, I believe they see right through this BS. I hope so. It was Welcher. How the hell didn't Welcher get a voir dire, but this lady does? Welcher needed one. He didn't do anything but playing damn paint for $400,000. Y'all, I'm in the wrong business. Alice, we talk about that all the time. I said the same thing, Alice. Same thing. But in defense, Alice, when we were talking about communication. She wasn't privy to communication that could have been given to the other side. You should have asked. Should have asked. Should have asked for sure. Just saying. If we want to play this game, let's exclude it. They have
All persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly.
Girl, Alice, what?
Superior Court, before the county of
Now hold on, let me
Your
check.
name,
Ladies,
your
hold up.
sentence, you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now open. You may be seated.
Okay. All right. Good morning again, counsel. Good morning, jurors. So we appreciate your patience. We were in here trying to streamline things, so we got a lot of work done this morning, so thank you. I do have to ask you those same 3 questions. Were you all able to follow my instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left here on Friday? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left here on Friday? Everyone said no or shook their heads. Right, thank you. We have Dr. Wall, please.
Charles, I remind you, you're still under oath.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Wolf, thank you for joining us again this morning. I'd like to draw your attention to a picture. May I approach, John?
Yes.
I'm going to show you. Do you remember seeing that photograph?
Yes,
You were shown this photograph last week, is that right?
correct,
By Mr. Brennan, correct?
correct.
Do you recognize the photo as the same photo that you were shown last week?
Yes,
Under questioning by Mr. Brennan?
yes.
And what does that appear to be a photo of, just generally?
It appears to be a photo from the test dummy from the 29 mile per hour impact test.
And does that appear to be a true and accurate photograph of the condition of the dummy following that 29 mile an hour crash test?
Yes,
With the court's permission, I'd like to enter this as next in order, please. If you could hand that to the lower corner.
Exhibit 218.
You need to pull it back.
Permission to present that, Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, well, then my
Is this the
copies
photograph?
too.
yes.
Okay. Lacey. Lacey, you sound like me.
Dr. Worrell, first of all, what caused the damage? Well, let's start with the most basics. Which arm is this? Left or right?
This is the left arm.
What position was, you called this dummy Rescue Randy, is that right?
Correct,
What
yes.
position generally was Rescue Randy in upon impact during this test?
He was oriented such that the right side of his body and his right arm would be contacted by the vehicle.
What caused the defects in the and the damage to the sweatshirt as we see it here?
That was due to the interaction from the Rescue Randy sliding on the pavement surface to his position of final rest.
Is that sometimes called road rash?
Yes.
Did you see any road rash in any other place on Rescue Randy in this photograph?
Doesn't appear so in this photograph, no.
Can we highlight the face? What about there?
Oh, shoot.
Sorry, I thought you were talking specific to the clothing. Yes, the as I mentioned on Friday, there were signs of road rash to the body of the dummy itself, on the face and on the torso and arms.
Can we zoom in on the sleeve a little bit?
He did for it.
Do you see any staining on the sleeve as well as the defects, the holes and the tears?
Yes.
Come on now.
What is that staining from?
Again, just from that sliding contact with the pavement, so it's just likely debris and kind of a film from the pavement surface being deposited onto the material.
John had none of that.
With regard to John O'Keefe's sweatshirt that you reviewed photographs of, did you see any other defects other than the right arm and the fact that it was cut off of him medically?
No.
Any other indication or any indication whatsoever of anything that you see consistent with road rash?
No.
Okay, let's go back to the full frame. The second image I'd like you to take a look at. If we could have the lights for just a second.
Same, Nisha. Same. Y'all, John had none of this. None of this.
Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
It is the backside of the test dummy from the 29 mile per hour full-on impact test.
Which arm is featured in that photograph?
That would be the right arm.
Move that into evidence as next in order, Your Honor, with the court's permission.
Exhibit 219?
Permission to display.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Does that appear to be the right arm of Rescue Randy as he's face down?
Yes.
Is that following the impact?
Yes.
Do you see any? Were you shown this photograph by Mr. Brennan on cross-examination?
No, I was not.
Can we highlight the right sleeve just a little bit, please?
Get the right arm.
Do you see that defect in the sleeve?
Yes.
Do you also see some artifacts above that defect, above and to the left?
Yes.
Can you tell what those are?
They appear to be fragments from the back window of the test vehicle when it shattered.
Y'all, the window
Does
shattered?
there appear to be any additional, let's go back to the full frame. Does there appear to be any additional defects on that particular sleeve?
Wait.
There appears to be some material transfer, likely from the pavement, and also some road rash.
Does that appear to be transfer from the pavement?
I think that might be a shard of glass from the back window.
What was the condition of the back window after this test?
What?
It was completely shattered.
The defect that we're looking at, that large gash, was that from road rash sliding on the pavement?
Yes.
If we can go back to the full frame, please.
Put your DNA on the like button. I know that's right.
I'd like to show you an additional photograph.
Thank you, Ronnie. Y'all, this is the back window shattered. I've always wondered if at 24 miles per hour, why is it only that tail light no
Do you
scratch?
recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
Yes.
What is it?
It is the front side of the test dummy from the 29 mile per hour full-on impact test.
Does that appear to be a true and accurate depiction of the condition of Rescue Randy in that sweatshirt after that 29 mile an hour impact?
Yes.
Move for the admission of that photograph, Your Honor, is next in order.
Okay.
Oh, y'all do not like Beverly.
Exhibit 220?
She looked like she didn't even straighten her hair. She woke up, brushed it down, and walked out the house. It was bothering.
Permission to display.
Yes.
Wow.
Can you describe what we're looking at in this photograph?
This is mainly showing the upper body of the test dummy from the 29-mile-an-hour impact test, showing the road rash to the front side of the body.
Were you shown this photograph on cross-examination?
No.
What caused the holes in the bodice of the shirt? In other words, the part that covers the chest and the torso.
Girl, look at his shirt.
After the impact, the dummy was projected and sliding on the pavement surface. So again, this is consistent with the front side of the body sliding, making sliding contact with the pavement, creating those abrasions and holes. And again, that asphalt material transfer that you see on the front.
Can you go out back to the full frame, please? Do you see additional road rash? Take a look at his right arm.
Yeah, broken, ain't it?
You see additional road rash on Rescue Randy?
Yes,
On both the fabric and the arm itself?
correct.
Go back to full frame. And can you see his face as well in this photograph?
Yes,
Are those the chin and nose defects that you saw?
yes.
I'm
Are
done.
the
I don't
defects
need
in the
to think
shirt
more.
that you see here consistent with the condition of the shirt of John O'Keefe as you saw it in the photographs?
It is inconsistent.
Yes, T. Yeah, I don't need to see anymore.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Another photo that I'd like to show you. Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
Yes,
What is that? We can take this down.
it is the rest position of the test dummy after the 29-mile-per-hour impact test.
Were you shown this on Friday?
No.
Is that a true and accurate depiction of the condition of Rescue Randy just from a different angle after that 29-mile-an-hour impact?
Yes,
Move for the admission of that photograph.
Okay. Exhibit 221.
Permission to display that photograph, Your Honor?
Yes.
Is this an overview of the entire body of Rescue Randy after that impact?
yes,
Take a look at his torso, the exposed portion of his torso. Do you see road rash on his exposed torso?
yes,
Do you also see that the road rash that you earlier
can.
described on the bodice of the shirt, the front of the shirt?
Baby, Randy is messed up.
yes,
And what about, let's go back to the full frame. Is there also road rash on his jeans?
yes,
If we could go back to full frame.
Ooh,
Have you ever heard a phrase, knocked out of your shoes?
sure, they reading your mind.
yes.
They reading
Where
your
are the dummy's shoes?
They're still on his feet.
And this is at an impact of 29 miles per hour, correct?
Watch the form of the question.
Sure.
Jackson.
What was tell us one more time, what was the speed of this impact?
This was a full-on 29-mile-per-hour impact.
We can take that down.
Oh, can somebody ask your boy answer this for glitchy?
Take a look at
You
that
know how
photograph and tell me
heavy
if you
the
recognize
dummy
what's
was.
depicted in it.
Oh, okay, 200
Yes.
Of course.
What is that?
It is the back of the test Lexus after the 29-mile-per-hour impact test.
Y'all.
Is that a true and accurate depiction of the condition of that Lexus following that 29 mile an hour impact?
Yes, and I should be more specific. It's post the 29-mile-per-hour impact with the test dummy, not just the arm.
Understood. Thank you. The collision that caused the damage to Rescue Randy that we've just been looking at.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Move for the admission of that photograph, Your Honor.
Okay. Exhibit 222.
Permission to display that?
Yes.
Is this the photograph that we were just talking about?
Yes,
And this is the condition of the vehicle after that rearward impact with Rescue Randy, correct?
correct.
Did the subject vehicle photographs that you looked at, were those consistent or inconsistent with this photograph?
Those photographs were inconsistent compared to the test.
Was there anything consistent about the shirt that you were shown on Friday, the left sleeve that you were shown on Friday with John O'Keefe's actual sweatshirt?
Was any of that consistent with?
Correct. Was that consistent or inconsistent, now that you've seen all the photographs, with the condition of the shirt that John O'Keefe was wearing on January 29th?
The test clothing was inconsistent compared to that of Mr. John O'Keefe's.
Thank you. You were asked on cross-examination several times about the weight of the hybrid 3 arm. Do you recall that series of questions?
Yes,
You were asked how much lighter the hybrid 3 arm was than the static estimate arm, correct?
correct.
I want to make sure we're clear about this. The hybrid 3 arm is the physical arm that you attached to the ATD and did testing with, correct?
Correct.
The statistical estimate arm is something in the ether, right? It doesn't exist.
Sustained.
How would you describe a statistical estimate arm?
It's probably from taking a sample of the population and getting an average and a high and a low.
Okay. Is that a physical arm? You can touch and feel?
No.
Okay. Do you have any information based on everything that you've reviewed at all about the actual weight of John O'Keefe's right arm?
Nothing in terms of a weighed measurement of the arm, no.
Okay. What was the percentage that Mr. Brennan gave you in terms of how much lighter the hybrid 3 arm was than the statistical estimate arm that he gave you?
From what I recall, I think the percentage was 26%.
Did you calculate that yourself, or did you take Mr. Brennan's word for it?
I believe I took his word for it.
Do you recall what the weight of the hybrid 3 arm was exactly?
Don't tell me you can't
9.38 pounds.
What is the difference, if you can calculate, what is the
Oh,
difference
Lord.
between 11, well, what was the statistical estimate arm, the number that Mr. Brennan gave you?
I think I heard him say 11.8, but I also think he said at one point 11.6. So I'm not sure of the kind of the final number he landed on.
Does,
Sustained. Ask the question. Stop striking the end.
does 11.86 sound right?
Yes,
Okay. Let's use 11.86. Do you have a calculator with you?
I do.
With the court's permission, could Dr. Wolf use a calculator if he needs to?
Yes.
Thank you. What's the difference between 11.86 and 9.38? Just in raw numbers?
You're looking at just the difference between those two?
Subtract
Okay.
9.38.
2.48.
Does that mean there's a 2.48 pound differential between the statistical estimate arm, the heavier arm, and the 9.38 arm from the hybrid 3?
Yes, that's the difference in pounds.
All right. How would you calculate how much lighter? What's the proper way to calculate how much lighter, in terms of percentage, the 9.38 arm is?
You would want to do a percent difference calculation.
Divide 2.48 by 11.86?
Sustained. Watch the form, Mr. Jackson.
How would you tell the jurors how you would calculate that percentage difference.
You would subtract the 11.86 minus the 9.38, and then you would divide by the sum of those two and divide by 2, the average of them.
Can you do that calculation?
Yes. Okay.
And what's the number?
23%.
Not 26%?
Objection.
Sustain.
Is 23% smaller or no, or larger than 26%?
Objection.
Sustain. Let's move on from that, Mr. Jackson.
What is the number that you get if you were to divide 2.48 by 11.86?
.21.
In percentages.
21%.
Thank you. Was the hybrid 3-arm 21% lighter by that calculation than the 11.86 estimate arm?
Yes.
On cross-examination, Mr. Brennan asked you several questions related to kinetic energy formula, correct?
Correct.
You referenced that. Did you reference that formula in some of your answers?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Sorry, y'all. I was trying to have breakfast really quick. You said, so, oh, y'all, now the baby's crying. Give me a second. I got to check on the babies. Hold on, y'all.
May I inquire?
Yes.
You're looking at something that's been identified, a document that's been identified as 3 X's, XXX. Do you recognize that? Oh, you're not looking at it.
Not yet.
You see it now.
Yes.
Do you recognize what that is?
It is the formula for kinetic energy.
With that, Your Honor, may we display the formula? We don't have to cut the lights. I think it'll be very obvious.
Yes.
Can we bring the lights back up and see if that's visible? Can you still see that, Dr. Wolf?
Yes.
Your Honor, is that okay?
Yes.
Great. You said this is the formula for kinetic energy, correct?
Correct.
You were asked a series of questions about whether the weight differential in the hybrid 3-arm would make a significant or material difference in your testing as it pertains to the velocity of the vehicle that you were testing. You remember those questions?
So watch the phone and ask a different question.
Just foundationally, were you asked about weight differential of the hybrid 3-arm?
Yes.
Were you also asked about whether it would make a material difference to the testing if you didn't adjust for the velocity?
Sustained.
What were you asked in terms of, what was the question that was posed to you about the weight of the hybrid 3-arm versus the velocity of the testing?
That there would somehow be an influence on, I think, wanting to make a reduction to the velocity of the vehicle.
Does that make mathematical sense to you?
Sustained is to that point.
Would that have a material difference? With the weight of the arm, at 2.48 pounds, would that have a material difference in the testing that you undertook?
No.
Why is that?
Well, to start, that's one of the reasons why we went above and beyond the 24 miles per hour to impart significantly more kinetic energy to the arm. So if you look at that equation, it's a quadratic equation because you're squaring the velocity. So if you double the velocity, you quadruple the amount of kinetic energy. So you get a significant increase in small changes in speed because of that speed differential.
Did you do a test with just the hybrid arm contacting the taillight at 24 miles per hour?
Yes.
Did you also do a test with that hybrid 3-arm contacting the vehicle at 29 miles per hour?
Yes.
I'd like to talk about those two tests, okay? Can you explain to the jurors what they're looking at? I want to start with going from left to right. What does the E sub K mean in that formula?
So that stands for kinetic energy, which is the amount of energy that an object has when it's in motion and has a velocity to it.
What is the 1/2 on the other side of the equal sign?
Just a constant.
And what does the M, as in Mary, stand for?
So that would be the mass, in this case, the mass of the arm.
And what's the V, as in Victor?
That would be the velocity of the arm as it's accelerated.
Why is there an exponent at the top of the V?
Because you're squaring that. So you're basically multiplying the velocity times itself. So it would be velocity times velocity.
Is this a formula that's traditionally used in accident reconstruction?
Yes, it's very common.
I think so too.
Is it
Wait,
sort of one of the foundational formulas? When did you learn this formula?
high school.
Probably back in high school physics.
Knew it.
I'm going to ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to walk the jurors through a calculation dealing with the 24-mile-an-hour test using the 11.86 pound statistical arm as an assumption of the weight of the arm.
Okay.
You
Your Honor,
understand?
may I have a pen and paper to write?
May I approach you, Your Honor? Yes.
I have a pad here too, if whatever's easiest.
Okay, whatever is easiest. If you assume the mass of 11.86, that's the statistical arm weight, and you assume the v for velocity is 24 in miles per hour. I don't care about the units, doctor. Just assume 11.86 and 24. Can you calculate this quadratic equation?
Yes.
What do you get? I want to do it step by step. What's the result of squaring 24?
So again, you're not concerned about the units.
I do not want to talk about units.
Just okay.
If you mention the word joules, my head will explode.
That's I didn't know if you wanted Newton meters, foot pounds. Okay.
Stop it.
So
Immediately.
just 24 squared
Correct.
is 576.
Do you always, in this calculation, do you always use the exponent first? Do you always do the square first?
Sustain.
What's the first thing that you do in solving for this equation?
You would want to square the velocity, but it's ultimately all going to be multiplied. But yes, you would square the velocity, multiply by itself.
What's the next step after you get 576?
Again, assuming we're not concerned about units, you would multiply by the 11.86.
Can you do that for me and tell me the answer?
How many decimal places do you want? Just nearest whole number?
2.
Okay. 6,831.36.
What's the next step once you get that number?
You would multiply by 1/2 or 0.5.
Can you do that for us, please?
That'd be 3,415.68.
What does that represent in terms of the energy into the taillight? I realize that we're not dealing with the proper units, but does that represent anything as it relates to the energy that's imparted on the taillight?
That would be the energy to the arm
Okay,
that's being transferred.
understood. 3,415.68, is that right?
Correct.
And that was at what mile per hour?
24.
Let's move to a different equation.
Okay.
Now I'd like you to presume different numbers.
I don't know what the question is.
Can you do the same calculation using the 9.38 pound arm that you actually used in your testing for the mass?
Yes.
And can you use the velocity of the actual test you did of 29 miles per hour?
Okay. And same thing, not worried about units?
Correct.
Okay.
What's the first thing you do in solving that equation?
So if you square the 29 miles per hour, you will get 841.
What's the next thing you do?
You multiply by 9.38.
What's the number?
7,888.58.
And what's the next thing you do in the equation?
You multiply by 1/2 or 0.5.
And what's that final number?
3,944.29.
That would be the number or the amount of energy imparted on the arm at 29. Is that right? 29 miles per hour?
So ask it differently.
Sure. What is that 3,944.29 number? What does that mean in terms of the kinetic energy?
That would be the kinetic energy that the arm has if it were moving at 29 miles per hour and weighed 9.38
Yeah, I
pounds.
turned it down and she put up. So
One final calculation.
back up.
What is the percentage
Take off.
difference between 39, 44, 29 and the other test that we just did, or the other calculation, 34, 15, 68?
Baby, now he giving him a pop quiz. Shayla, I'm letting it be. Have it up. If you need it up, have it up. She's still a little mad.
So in terms of a percent difference, again, when you're subtracting the two and then dividing by the sum divided by 2, so that's basically the average of the sum, it is 14% difference.
My brain is not working like
Which
this.
of the two tests, the two energy equations that you just did, which represents the higher kinetic energy imparted to the arm? The 24-mile-an-hour test, that's the hypothetical, or the actual test at 29 miles an hour? Which one?
The 29 mile per hour speed with the arm weight of 9.38.
He's so confident.
What does that mean, Dr. Wolf, in terms of the testing that you did with the lighter arm, 9.38 pound arm, at the 29 mile an hour test, as it compares to the hypothetical 24 mile an hour test?
It would be more force and more energy in the 29 mile per hour impact test.
Even though you used a lighter arm? Objection.
Sustains.
And what was your opinion and conclusion as it pertained to the subject taillight using the 29 mile an hour test? What was your opinion and conclusion as it pertains to the subject taillight? Was that consistent or inconsistent with the damage that you saw on the 29 mile an hour test?
It was inconsistent.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's all I have.
Oh God. Oh, Hank about to get up here pissed. I like Dr. Wolf as a witness though. He's been standing tall. I don't know what Welcher's going to say. Oh, his math was wrong? What's Welcher going to say? Uh-oh. Look at Hank.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Doctor, did you have a chance to speak to anybody from the defense this weekend?
Not over the weekend, no.
After you left here Friday?
On Friday, I let them know that I was returning back home, and then I let them know last night that I had arrived, yes.
Did you receive any new information or have any conversation before you came in today?
No.
Now, when we asked you about weight last week, you did not go into any calculations about the difference between the standard arm, 11.86, and the 9.38, did you?
I don't believe we did, no.
In fact, when you testified last week,
Hank, it's not
at
his
the end of the
fault.
day, you were asked questions by Attorney Jackson about the weight of that arm, correct?
Yes.
And when you were asked about the weight of the arm, Attorney Jackson asked you if you were asked a lot of questions about the difference in the weight of the arm, about 11.8 pounds statistically as it relates to Mr. O'Keefe versus 9.4 pounds. Do you remember him asking you about that?
Yes.
And you were asked whether you were aware whether anybody had measured the weight of John O'Keefe's right arm. And you responded, I'm not aware of that, no. Remember that testimony?
Yes.
And then you were asked, when you asked questions about whether or not his arm was 11.8 pounds, are you aware of anybody ever just weighing just his arm? And you said no.
Correct.
And finally, you were asked, what is that based on, 11.8? Where did that come from? Remember what you said?
Yes.
I don't know. Remember you answered Attorney Jackson and you said, I don't know where that came from.
Right, referring to, I don't know what source you pulled that 11.8 from.
And so you were suggesting that that is just a number pulled out of thin air, right? Was that a surprising estimate, 11.8 to you?
I don't know that it was surprising. I don't know what your source is for it.
Well, when you engage in accident reconstruction, you never just take somebody's limb and sever it and throw it on a scale, do you?
I'm not usually doing that part of the analysis, no.
So when you're relying on body weight and different parts of the body, there is strong statistical studies that give you a guide, isn't there?
I would agree with that, yes.
Well, the number's just on the thin air. If you're doing a study and you have to figure out damage to an arm or a foot or a leg, and you have to come to an estimated value or weight, you have to get that information from somewhere, don't you?
I would agree, yes.
So you just make it up out of thin air. You have to find a resource, a reliable, vetted resource. True?
I would agree.
And that's what you do.
In some instances, yes.
Well, in this case, you chose an arm that was 9.38 pounds. Where did you get the support that the 216-pound, 6'1" man would have an arm that
Can't
weighs
stand. He got to lean on
9.38
something.
pounds? Where did you get that from?
Well, it's conservative from the standpoint, if you think about one of the equations we talked about last week, force is equal to mass times acceleration. So if we take the acceleration data from our test
Okay.
and we multiply it by a lighter mass, the 9.38 pounds, it's less force to the arm. So now if you want to increase the mass of the arm, you're now talking about a greater net force to the arm. So it's conservative from a force perspective.
Put aside your story about the force perspective.
Oh!
My specific question is,
So it's
Hey!
sustained, ask the question again.
I'll ask you again, Doctor. Tell us where you got the 9.38 pound value from when considering a 6'1", 260.
I would ask him, what value do you think is better?
So you could be statistically accurate.
It is the mass of the hybrid 3-arm. We saw the photograph that depicted the weight. Again, how you account for that when you're doing the force calculations is you would utilize the acceleration data that we measured, and then you would apply a different mass, in this case, a heavier arm. And I will note, it's the same thing that Dr. Welcher did in his drop test with the hybrid 3 head. He ultimately measured the acceleration of the head, and then to calculate the force, he adjusted the mass of according to Mr. John O'Keefe's mass of his head.
So for the third time, I'm going to ask you just a very simple question.
He answered it.
Calm down for me if you can, okay, Doctor? Where did you get the source that legitimized
Come on, dumb it down for me. Sure.
arm for a person that's 6'1", 216 pounds? Where is your source to say that arm is validated for use for that size man? Where is that?
Again, it's the weight of the ATD arm. That is what the 50th percentile arm weighs. As I mentioned, in our field, it's accepted to utilize the acceleration data, and then you adjust the force based upon an increase in mass.
Thank he answer you.
Yes.
Mr. O'Keefe's body weight and size does not put him in the 50th percentile like the 9.38 arm. He's closer to the 95 percentile, isn't that fair to say?
Correct.
And there is, in fact, a 95 percentile crash test dummy, isn't there?
There is, yes.
Yeah. You chose the 50th percentile, which is shorter, yes?
Correct.
Weighs less, yes?
Correct.
And the arm weighs less. True?
Correct.
The truth is, you have absolutely no study, no paper,
I see what
no article that supports using a 9.38 arm for a 216-pound man
Then
who's
why
6'1".
didn't you use-
You have not one
Give me
reference
that
study you
for
can
his
offer us
body.
right now, do you?
I don't agree with that because, again, if you look how Dr. Welcher did it, he used the 50th percentile in his drop
Oh.
test with the head, and to calculate the force, he adjusted for Mr. John O'Keefe's mass of the head. Same thing is done in this instance with the lighter arm. We adjust for that in the calculations.
So you have one paper, one study. I know the answer to this, so let me
Welcher
ask. You
did
have
it.
one
Welcher
paper,
did it. He did it.
one study
He went off of Welcher.
to
I
support
got it.
that it is appropriate to use the 50th percentile 9.38 arm for a person
He
who is
went off what Welcher
6'1",
did, yes, Barry.
216 pounds. I won't ask you again, but if you can answer this once for me. Do you have one paper, one study?
So I'll take out the commentary. Can you answer that question, please?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
You have one paper. Give me a name, an author. One paper, one study that supports
I use what
using a
Welcher
9.38 arm, 50th percentile, when you're doing a crash test for somebody who's in the 95th percentile who weighs 216 pounds and is 6'1". One paper, sir.
I don't have a paper because Dr. Rentschler is addressing the forces and the injuries to the arm.
You talked about, however, would you
I
come
did.
up with the number 11.8? Like it was something that is curious or foreign to you, right?
Sustained.
Are you confused how the number 11.8 would come up?
I'm like showing his ass.
I'm not confused. I don't know your source for it.
When you do studies, would you agree that the head has a similar weight to the arm, and that the weight of an arm would be about 5.48% of a person's body weight?
I'm sure that there's various studies out there that talk about that could be one particular study.
Well, let's talk about one study. What do you think? You're the engineer, you're the expert. When you're weighing an arm by percent, what is the percent of the arm of the total body weight?
I don't know as I sit here today off the top of my head, no.
I'm sorry?
I don't know as I sit here today off the top of my head.
Well, if you don't know the percent of body weight of the arm compared to the whole body, how would you ever come up with a number for the arm?
Hank found him something. He gonna
Well, from the work that I've done with Dr. Rentschler in this case, dating back to last year, it's my understanding that his calculation for the arm was approximately 11 pounds.
So you're relying on somebody else's study? You're doing an independent assessment
Hey,
of the evidence, and you're relying on other people's math? Is that what you're telling us?
I don't agree with that because, as I've mentioned numerous times, Dr. Rentschler and I worked as a team on this case. You can't separate the reconstruction part from the biomechanical part. It's an integral part that works together on it.
Would you agree that the arm is about
like that answer.
statistically vetted, that it's 5.48% of the total body weight? Would you agree with that?
It sounds about right, but again, I
Okay.
don't have the percentage off
So
the
if
top of
you
my
take
head.
5.48% of a 171-pound man, which is the crash test dummy you were using, the 50 percentile, what do you get?
You said 5.48%?
Yeah,
Just over 9 pounds,
okay. Close to 9.38?
okay.
9.37.
Okay, now when you have 216 pounds, 5.48%,
11.8.
11.8.
Okay, your boy.
Sound about right, doctor?
By that calculation, yes.
Okay. Now, you said you had some confusion where I'd get that number from, this 11.8. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, y'all. What is
And when I threw out that number, is that the first time you heard of that number?
The 11.8?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or 11, is that the first time you heard of it from anybody, 11
now?
pounds?
He went to 11.
Is that a new number to you?
I don't understand your question.
Well, you're saying that when Attorney Jackson asked you where did Brennan get those numbers from, you said, I don't know. Remember that on
Correct.
Friday? Do you know where I got the number 11 pounds from?
11.8
Yeah.
or 11?
11.
As I just mentioned, last year, I believe I testified in a previous proceeding that it was about 11 pounds.
Yes. Your testimony, 11 pounds. Your prior testimony, right?
Yes,
You testified before under oath in this case, didn't you?
correct.
And when you testified under oath and you were giving a general estimate about the pounds of Mr. O'Keefe's arm, based on your experience and your training, you said it was around 11 pounds. Those are your words, right?
Okay, I'm different.
Correct,
Like,
yes.
what we doing?
Yes.
Right. You can't delete
Hey,
something that's
Nene.
under oath, right?
Hey,
And so when you feigned confusion on Friday about this 11
ooh,
pounds,
hey.
so when you answered questions last Friday about wherever this 11.8 pounds came from, you weren't so confused about that because you've used 11 pounds before yourself, haven't you?
Yes, but again, I don't know where you got that 11.8 from, so.
Well, we just
but-
did the math, didn't we?
Yes,
Okay. And you used a calculator to help you, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Calculator works.
Yes,
Okay. You said you wouldn't calculate the difference, but you did. And so what you just went through this exercise is you divided that difference, that 2.48 pound difference, right?
correct.
And then you divided it by 11.86. Divide 2.48
Oh,
by,
Gordon, more man.
from the 9.38.
Okay,
What percentage you get?
Damn, he doing it fast.
26.
Would you agree with this statement about whether the arm and body weight, comparing the weight of the head to the arm, would you agree that the head and arm are actually almost identical because your arm, just one of your arms, including the hand, forearm, and upper arm, is about 5% of your total body weight. So for someone who weighs 216 pounds, that's about 10.8 pounds.
What are we doing here?
Would you agree with that?
I didn't do that calculation, so I
Didn't ask you. I'm asking if you would agree with that.
can you repeat the question, please?
So ask the question.
Does the arm weight
Crazy.
weigh the same as the head? Or the arm does weigh the same as the head, almost identical because your arm, just one of the arms, including the hand, forearm, and upper arm, is about 5% of your total body weight. So for someone who weighs 216 pounds, that comes out to about 10.8 pounds. Would you agree with that?
I haven't done the calculation, but if the math checks, then yes.
Okay. Would you agree with this statement? The heavier the object, if it gets hit center mass, that's going to be even greater force because that is more mass than just 11 pounds. So the acceleration is the same for each body part. It just depends on the weight of the body part and how heavy it is to determine the force that's actually exerted on the body. Do you agree with that?
Objection. Source.
I'm going to allow the question.
Do you agree
Real.
with that?
What's the source?
Yes, and I think I described that a little bit earlier. Is you would increase the mass, you multiply it by the acceleration. That's going to increase your force. Force is equal to mass times acceleration.
Right. So mass has a direct correlation to force. You agree?
Correct.
So therefore, the heavier the object, if it's
Hank, it's
colliding
not
at the
hidden,
same speed,
baby.
will create
It's
more
not hidden,
force
baby.
than a lighter object. You'd agree with that, wouldn't you?
Correct. More force on the arm. Yes.
Right. So weight matters, doesn't it, sir?
Yes.
Force is mass times acceleration. So if the arm weighs the same as the head, you're still going to get the same force. And so inevitably, you change the mass, you change the weight, same speed, it changes the amount
same
of
thing
force.
is going to happen, Hank.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I don't.
When you
I think
did calculations in this case, you never took the estimate of 11 pounds, although it didn't exactly calculate the 5.48. You never took that 11 pounds and determined the percentage difference between the mass in that arm and the mass in a 9.38 pound arm, did you?
No, I did not.
You didn't include it in any of your PowerPoints.
No.
You didn't explain it to the jury that there's a difference and weight matters.
Again, that's something that Dr. Rentschler is going to discuss.
I'm asking you because you testified, you gave opinions, you got a
Look at him
PowerPoint.
smiling at
Did
Hank.
you explain
he
to the
did a
jury
PowerPoint.
about the difference in force when there's a change in weight? When you did all your PowerPoint and calculations, did you break it down for them?
Well, I think it was certainly stated. I mean, I know that we went over Newton's second law, force is equal to mass times acceleration, right? So if you increase that mass number, it will increase the force.
When you were putting up your PowerPoints with the speeds, did you explain to us that there's a difference when you change the mass so that if you used a lighter arm, there would be a difference in force? Did you explain that to us in any of your slides?
I don't know that I explicitly stated it, but again, that's why we went up to 29 miles per hour to account for that difference in weight.
Were you trying to inflate the force for the speed of test so it looked like the collision had to happen at a faster speed to cause a certain amount of damage? Were you doing that intentionally?
No.
Hank,
You didn't overstate the mass. You didn't use an arm that was 14 pounds that would have created the opposite illusion, right? You used a weight that was lighter than Mr. O'Keefe's estimated arm.
Right, because again, it goes both ways. If you increase the mass of the arm, you increase the force on the arm. So there's going to be more force acting on the arm.
Let's talk about your studies with Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt and his arm, and you gave some opinions about what you would expect for damage to his arm. When I asked you on Friday whether you had any support, any vetted journals, learned treatise, any support whatsoever about whether you should use a crash test dummy arm for these types of studies, you didn't have any support on Friday. Do you have any today that you can refer to?
No.
Putting aside the fact that you have absolutely no professional studies or journals to support that you should be using a crash test dummy's arm for these type of tests. Are you aware
Where's the support for that
of
blue
the
paint test?
expert literature in this case that the opposite, you specifically should not use crash test dummies when you're trying to do this type of analysis on clothing and a person's body? Are you aware whether that exists?
I'm not aware of those studies, no.
As a inquisitive engineer, wouldn't you want to know if there was legitimate studies in your work, in your profession, that suggest or state that you should not be using crash test dummies to determine injury to the arm as far as lacerations? Would you want to know that?
I think, again, you're getting confused between my role and Dr. Renfler. Can I finish, please?
No.
Okay, so,
No.
no comment, Mr. Brennan. Answer the question, please.
I wasn't addressing the lacerations or the abrasions to the arm, sir.
Can I finish?
You had photographs and you were opining that you would have expected or you would not expect there to be abrasions or cuts on that clothing in your test A and B, didn't you?
There were no holes or cuts in the material, no.
I understand, but you offered opinions. Didn't you offer to the jury an opinion that the abrasions on Mr. O'Keefe's arm were inconsistent with your tests in A and B?
The cuts and the holes are inconsistent.
Sir, when you are assessing cuts and holes on clothing, you need to make sure the predicate as a basis that you're using the right properties, right?
I would agree with that.
Right. And so if there was literature directing that you should not use a crash test dummy to assess injury on an arm, would you follow that instruction or would you do it anyways?
Again, you keep saying injury to the arm. I was looking at what happens to the material when it makes contact with the tail light.
A crash test dummy's arm is harder than a human arm, isn't it?
Yes,
You push a human arm, it's like an indent. You can push in, can't you?
yes.
And that property of pushing in, if a cloth is on it, it is easier for a cloth to tear pushing in than if it's hard. Isn't it?
I don't know that I agree with that.
Well, do you disagree with that?
Well, the hybrid arm is of vinyl flesh, so it's not rigid.
Do you disagree with what I just said?
Can you repeat your question?
Sure. Human arm, softer than the hybrid, yes?
Yes.
When you push it, you can push in, much different than the hybrid arm, which is stiffer, yes?
I don't know what you mean by much different, but there will be a difference, yes.
Well, is it a noticeable difference to you if you push a hybrid arm as opposed to a human arm?
Yes,
When you push a human arm, it indents, yes?
correct,
And so if you push with cloth on, the cloth indents, yes?
correct.
Which creates an easier, tear in the fabric with less force if you can push in as opposed to a hard arm. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I would agree with that.
So when you're replicating studies and giving opinions about a person's arm, a real person's arm, using a hybrid arm doesn't seem to be an appropriate standard, does it?
I don't agree with that because, again, when the taillight breaks in the test, the arm is now moving with that taillight. So it's, again, like we talked about on Friday, you'd somehow have to have those fragments accelerating at a greater velocity to penetrate that.
We're going to get to that, but I'm talking about the stiffness. Let's get back to
what
the
are we
appropriateness of
doing?
using a crash test dummy. Now conceding that a human that pushes different than the crash test dummy, would you agree that a crash test dummy is not an appropriate tool to use when determining tears in clothing on somebody's arm? Would you agree?
I don't think I would agree with that, no.
When you used the crash test dummy in test A and B, that was the 5'9" dummy?
Yes,
When you considered tears to clothing, you bought a new sweatshirt that was similar to Mr. O'Keefe's, an extra large sweatshirt?
don't know if I recall the exact size, but I think one of them might have been an extra large.
And then you bought a second one that was medium. So when you used the smaller dummy, you weren't actually using Mr. O'Keefe's size of extra large. You used a medium sweatshirt, yes?
Yes.
Why does it
Because it
matter
was
with
a
the
smaller dummy than the size of Mr. O'Keefe. That's why you needed a smaller sweatshirt, yes?
I think it was more or less just what we could get our hands on.
Well, you had an extra large and a medium. You didn't put the extra large on in tests A and B, did you?
I don't recall off the top of my head what sizes were on each test.
Okay, could we show a picture of A to remind Dr. Wolf? And while she's pulling that up, is there a difference between, so it's, see that's how that's blue? You see that's medium?
Yes,
So the blue ones you use for test A and B, correct?
correct.
The smaller crash test dummy than Mr. O'Keefe, the 5'9" crash test dummy, yes?
Correct.
And then when you used Randy and brought him into the scene, you used the extra large, the gray one.
Correct.
Right, so you used a different one because it was a smaller anatomical doll than the size of Mr. O'Keefe, yes?
We used different sizes. The material blend was the same.
This was new.
Correct.
The extra large you put on Randy was new.
Correct.
Did you consider the wear and tear on Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt, the extra large sweatshirt he was wearing that night?
The wear and tear?
Yes, the wear and tear.
No.
Did you ever consider the differences between a brand new sweatshirt and one that had been worn?
No.
Had you ever had clothing, sweatshirt you used repeatedly, maybe put in the dryer, wears it down? Sometimes you can get holes more easily. Did you do any type of analysis on that whatsoever?
No, I'm gonna allow that.
Any type of analysis whatsoever on the age or whether it's stretched the same, anything like that?
No.
No variables whatsoever on the sweater, did you?
No.
Okay. Does it matter whether or not the sweatshirt is tighter or looser or how it fits the body? Is that any part of your consideration?
No.
Have you ever done testing like this before for clothing?
In terms of impacting a taillight?
Yes.
No.
So this is the first time ever that you've done this type of analysis and offered an opinion in front of a jury on this?
Specific to impacting an arm with a taillight, yes.
Before you decided to come in and give an opinion, did you take any study or look at any journals on fabrics?
what?
No.
Did you consider any of the variables that one would want to consider regarding fabrics before you came in and gave this opinion?
No.
Did it concern you when you were coming in to give a professional opinion about something you've never done before, whether or not you were studied in the area before you did it?
Well, I think I relayed my observations from the test, right? I certainly explained how we set up the arm, how the arm was closed. You all obviously saw the impact testing to the arm, so I'm relaying my observations from the test that we did.
Did it concern you that you were coming in to give an opinion on something you have never done before, and that you did absolutely no study on fabrics or any of
Now
other
we're talking
people's
about
analysis
fabric.
on fabrics in cutting? Did that concern you?
No.
So you were comfortable just coming in with no experience in this whatsoever, without even studying or doing any research? You were comfortable to come in and just throw out an opinion?
No, again, and Dr. Rentschler is going to address part of this. Again, we worked as a team, so there's a synergy between the two of us.
Well, putting aside the synergy, you're the one on the stand under oath, yep?
Correct.
You're the one testifying, giving opinions to this jury, yes?
Yes.
You're the one asking them to rely on your experience and training, true?
Correct.
You're the one asking them to rely on your judgment and your effort to be accurate, yes?
He
Yes.
just.
So when you give the opinion, you have a personal responsibility to support that opinion, putting aside Dr. Welcher or Dr. Rentschler. You have a responsibility for your opinion, don't you?
I would generally agree with that, yes.
Generally?
Yes.
When wouldn't you? When would it not be general? Don't you have an obligation every single time you take the stand to give an opinion to be supported, valued, vetted?
Yes,
single time?
and again, Dr. Rentschler is addressing those abrasions and lacerations, which certainly correspond to the material.
Right. But you didn't wait for Dr. Rentschler. You offered a number of opinions to this jury. You personally, under your name, you came in and presented yourself as an expert in this subject. You, didn't you?
Correct.
So putting aside Dr. Rentschler, his opinions,
You stand behind your opinions.
Yes.
Okay. And you do that despite the fact you've done no study, no research,
Oh,
haven't
he
vetted, and
talking
have no
about damn
authority
fabric.
whatsoever.
Yes.
You wrote a report back on February 12, 2024.
Correct.
In February 12, 2024, do you remember talking about injuries to the arm and damage to the taillight?
Generally, yes.
Okay, that's fair. Do you remember writing in a report, it is significant to note that the injuries have been classified as abrasions and analysis of the autopsy photographs indicates minimal bleeding or lacerations of the dermis?
So the report that you're referring to is a joint report authored by myself, Dr. Rentschler, and Mr. Scott Klein. So that would have been a portion drafted by Dr. Rentschler addressing the injuries.
I see. So in this report, it has your name, Dr. Rentschler, and another person, Scott Klein, yes?
Correct.
But in the report, none of you ever differentiate which opinions you're standing behind or somebody else's, right? I'll move on.
The objection is sustained.
I'll move on.
I'll move on.
The objection is sustained.
Did you agree with that?
Sustained.
Did you write or endorse these injuries would not result from impact with a non-damaged tail lamp cover and the amount of force required to fracture the tail light cover?
So we're gonna see you inside.
But let me just say this. The lawyer, he was talking about how even though the objection is sustained, just to keep going because you want to get it out there in front of the jury. And Hank just did that. But I do feel like Hank at some point, I feel like he's beating a dead horse. In my mind, when I'm looking at the work that Dr. Welcher did versus the work that ARCA has done, there's just really no comparison. The fact that Dr. Welcher had the money, for sure, he has the expertise to do some of this testing himself, and he chose not to do it, is very telling. Why did he choose not to do the testing? I think a lot of it boils down to he was not going to get the results that he felt would help the case. So what am I going to do? I'm going to come up with a paint test, a static testing, as Crash Daddy calls it. I'm going to come up with a static test that will at least show that John O'Keefe was the same height as his elbow would have been right at the same height as the tail light. I need more than that. I don't care that it lined up. I don't care. I want to know if his body really hit that tail light, what would have happened? What injuries would he have sustained? I want you to do a reenactment of this accident and make me believe that his injuries were consistent with what would have happened had he really been hit by this car. Dr. Welcher failed. There is nothing he can say. There's nothing Shannon can say that will make me believe this woman hit him with her car. And Princess, let's talk about that. Why can't we question Paul's report? Now, first of all, let me say this, and this is to myself as well. Some of us may owe Trooper Paul a little, we owe Trooper Paul an apology. There was a pirouette. At least it seems that way. Not what he didn't do it midair, but from some of the testing that ARCA did, I did see a little spin. I saw a little spin, y'all, and I said, damn, Trooper Paul, he may have been on to something. We can't totally dismiss it. Y'all, there was a little spin. Y'all saw ARCA's test in Paris. There was a little spin. I said, well, I guess one part of Trooper Paul's testing, he was right. There was a little spin. Now, there was not a spin midair, but there was a little spin. Y'all, I saw the clip. I saw the clip and I said, well, damn. Gwen said a little turn. There was a little something. There was a little something, okay? And Elaine said, but the car ran over his foot when he did it. Elaine, now you're taking me too far. I only want to talk about the little spin that I saw, y'all. I saw that little spin. I said, well, Trooper Paul. Summer, y'all don't want to give Trooper Paul his credit. Y'all don't want to give Trooper Paul his credit. There was a little spin, baby. And I said, well, Trooper Paul may have had a little piece of his report right. Just a little piece. But when I saw that, I bust out laughing. I said, well, damn, not a spin. I said, y'all, not a spin. Y'all, Frenchie, you taking me too far. Frenchie said yes, but he didn't fly. We not worrying about the flying. When I saw that spin, I thought about Trooper Paul, though. I also think it's very telling that the dummy shoes never came off. If we back on ARCA's testing, there's just too much that has happened, like during their testing, that I just will never believe that he was hit by a car. I'll never believe it. I will never believe it. I will never believe it. Elaine pissed me off too. I will never believe it. So I would love to see, and I haven't been on X a lot because I've been moving, so I'm really not sure what the anti-Karen Reed universe feels about all of this testing that was done. I'm not even sure how they feel about Welcher's lack of testing. It's an issue for me. Now, Aaron, you taking me too far again. Did he check his phone while spinning to see Jen's text though? You taking us too far. You're taking me way too far. I wanted to just address the spin. Now you're trying to go all deep on me. You're trying to go all deep. It's too deep. Too deep. He is a crime scene whisperer, Amanda. Oh, wait a minute. I just missed it. He is the crime scene whisperer. I think, again, when it comes to this case, guys, the Commonwealth has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. If there is any doubt, you have to find them not guilty. That's how it works. And the Commonwealth has not presented any evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that I would feel comfortable finding this woman guilty. I mean, nothing. Wait a minute. Anti-Karen Reed thinks ARC approved the CW theory. Child, when I get off live today, I'm going to spend some time on X. I have to see what people have been saying. I didn't see it, Elaine. I did not see it. Y'all, I told y'all I try to stay away from Peggy. I'm trying to stay away from Peggy. It's still the same shit with Bev, Jaleesa. Same old, same old. I did see, was it today? I feel like it was this morning, maybe 3 or 4 this morning when I checked on the babies. I think I saw Turtle Boy saying that Paul said he can't testify. He can't be a witness in Turtle Boy's hearing today because it's just like it's a distraction. He said everyone knows he does not miss anything that has to do with this case, the Karen Reed case. And they are just trying to pull him out of their courtroom. And I thought to myself, what value does Paul add to the courtroom? What value does Paul add? And let's not forget that this is recorded. Paul, you can catch it online. You can catch it online. Ooh, can't wait to see it. I heard it was a really great test. Bye, Forrest.
You were asked questions about impact with the taillight. And in fact, in one of your answers to me today, you talked about after a vehicle collides with a pedestrian, there's continued movement between the vehicle and the pedestrian, isn't there?
Correct.
And so while glass that, or plastic that shatters from a taillight might not impale clothes of the skin, would you agree, if your dummy wasn't restrained, when the Lexus collides with the dummy, there'd be continued contact for some time, extended contact between both the dummy and the taillight?
For some time?
Well, the arm, as is demonstrated in the test, would be moving at roughly the same velocity as the vehicle.
Yes. And don't you think that the vehicle would continue to drag the arm until the body either was thrown or spun off? Would you agree with that?
At some point, they will separate, yes.
At some point, but before the at some point. What I'm asking is, at the collision, when you see all the taillights shatter, right, wouldn't the Lexus, if it continues at that speed, say 24 miles per hour, for example, it would continue to drag with that dummy's arm longer than is shown in those experiments because the dummy is restrained?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. Would you agree that if a Lexus is backed up at 24 miles per hour and hits the dummy's arm and the taillight shatters, if the dummy wasn't restrained and moved regularly, it would extend the contact between that shattered taillight and the dummy's arm? Do you agree with that?
It would move with the vehicle until it got pushed out of the way, just move to the side,
And
yes.
so what you're saying is it would move with the vehicle but wouldn't touch the vehicle?
Well, in the one test, if you remember, because of the restitution effects, the arm reached a speed of over what the impact speed is. So in some instances, it actually might move at a speed greater than the vehicle.
Fantastic. In some instances, would it move slower and be dragged by the vehicle's broken taillight?
Oh.
Dragged? I don't know if I
When
understand.
say drag, push. How about we use the word push? Pushed by the broken taillight. Could that happen?
The arm would move with the taillight until it moves out of the way.
So you're saying it would move with or faster, but never would slow down where it gets pushed by the car?
It's moving with the vehicle, sir. I don't understand your question.
You said it moved with the vehicle. Sometimes it moves even faster, suggesting space between the broken taillight and the arm. That's what you're suggesting, right?
Correct.
So it can move with, it can move faster. Can it ever move slower and the vehicle pushes and drags against the arm?
I mean, it might be able to move a few miles per hour if it doesn't have as much of a center of mass hit, but it's still going to move out of the way because it's on a joint.
I understand, but before it moves out of the way, could it be pushed by that broken taillight? That's the simple question I'm asking you. Could it be pushed by the broken taillight?
Just moving adjacent with the taillight, just moving along. Yes.
Would you agree with this?
I'm so tired of him saying what you agree with.
If you have an arm struck at 25 miles per hour, significant more damage to the significant more damage that taillight shatters, hits and moves forward into arms, parts of taillight pushed into arm as vehicle pushes forward and pushes arm out of the way.
Keep reading.
So the word push, would you agree with that general characterization that the broken taillight can, in fact, push the arm? Would you agree with that?
Generally, I guess, again, it would move with the vehicle, the arm together.
Not move with. I'm asking you if you would agree about pushing. Would you agree with that?
As long as we're on the same page about it, it's pushing the arm, but it's with the vehicle. They're moving together. So, but in essence, yes, the arm is being pushed due to the fact that there's a force on it.
And the pushing could have that arm in contact with the broken pieces of the taillight if the taillight broke, correct?
Just moving at a common velocity.
The operative word here is push.
Paint
And so,
is
would you like to
confused.
agree with me, or you could disagree with me? Can the broken taillight push the arm so it contacts and provides force against it? Could that happen?
Yes.
When you were showing those photographs today regarding test F, now you used Randy in test F, right?
Correct.
How tall is Randy?
He's 6 feet.
And he weighs 200 pounds?
Correct.
So still 16 pounds less than Mr. O'Keefe, yes?
Correct.
And you keep referring to Randy as a crash test dummy. Randy's no dummy, right? He's a mannequin.
He is, but he signifies basically what happens when you have 200 pounds of mass striking the rear of that vehicle.
I don't want to misrepresent Randy. He's not a crash test dummy, is he?
Well, it wasn't used for biofidelic purposes. It was to, again, what happens when you have 200 pounds of mass strike the vehicle.
So when you've been referring to Randy as a crash test dummy, you don't mean to do that. That's a misnomer, isn't it?
I don't know that I agree with that.
So you think that Randy is a crash test dummy? He's a certified, approved crash test dummy.
No, and I think I made it very clear that there is no instrumentation on it, right? And one of the reasons why I mentioned that is those ATD dummies are $150,000, so we're not going to risk impacting it with the Lexus and destroying that.
I can understand the cost analysis for you, but I want to be clear. He's a mannequin. It's used by firefighters and drills pulling a body, dead weight, out of a house to replicate certain scenarios. That's what Randy was made for, yes?
He can be used for those, yes.
Right. He's not a crash test dummy in the parlance of a legitimate, studied crash test dummy, is he?
I don't agree with that because, again, we use that type of dummy in all different types of tests.
There's an H395M PED, which most closely replicates John O'Keefe's size and body, isn't there?
Correct.
You didn't have that when you did the test, did you?
No.
When you do crash tests, you can put a magnetic control on the crash test dummy, so upon impact, it releases and is thrown. You could do that, couldn't you?
That is one way, yes.
Right. So that way you don't have to put the dummy on a forklift, and then it creates a different scenario than real life, correct?
That could be one way that you could do it, yes.
It doesn't impede any roll or drag when the dummy's hit. That's one reason you would do that rather than a forklift, yes?
Correct.
Also, it might show some throw, which could lead to other type of damage like holes in clothes, yes?
Correct.
But you didn't use the magnet, you used a forklift.
Because again, the purpose of the test was to evaluate, we talked a lot about those time frames, right? That 10 millisecond window. It's to look at, from the vehicle damage perspective, what happens to the taillight, right, in that interaction. And then ultimately, what is the acceleration that the arm experiences in that 10, 15 millisecond window, right? What happens 1 second after, 2 seconds after? Again, that wasn't of concern for me in my analysis.
You didn't use a magnet, you used a forklift, right?
Correct.
And when Randy went for a ride, you didn't expect him to break off the string and slide across the street, did you?
We didn't expect him to.
You didn't expect him to be thrown. You didn't expect the string on the forklift to break and then Randy to go flying. You didn't expect that, did you?
Oh, I certainly expected that.
So you expected a throw with that.
Yes.
Okay. And the street has hard concrete and it has a lot of irregularities to it, doesn't it?
It's asphalt, yes.
Yeah. In the photos that you were shown today on redirect examination, did the defense show them to you during the direct examination? Any of those?
No.
Ms. Gilman, can you pull up that last exhibit with Randy on the ground? I think it's exhibit 221. Okay. And so this is Randy, right, doctor?
Yes.
Zoom in a little bit, please. What's that red thing near his shoe?
Appears to be a fragment of the taillight.
Can you zoom out? Could you go back an exhibit to the one before? Could you zoom in? Did you see any taillight fragments on his body or in his clothes?
I can't tell from here.
Could we have the exhibit before, please? Can you tell from here?
Yes.
In finding taillight fragments on the clothes after a collision, that's not unique, is it?
Unique? No,
Yeah.
it's possible.
Well, according to this, it's probable, yes?
In this test, that did occur, yes.
Could we have Exhibit 201D, please? Do you know what this is, Doctor? Did you see this picture in your analysis?
Don't know if I recall that specific photograph.
Do you know this is taillight shards found in Mr. O'Keefe's clothing?
Objection.
Yo!
Did you consider this photograph during
Yeah,
your
the fact
analysis
that
before
that was
you gave
not-
your opinions regarding cuts and tears and
Now that you
lacerations?
pick him up.
No, sir.
Can you take that down, please?
Hank is really, I do not like him.
When you did your analysis, did you know that a drinking straw was found on the concrete on the street in front of 34 Fairview?
Shit.
I don't know if it was on the concrete, it might have been on the asphalt, but I do recall a drinking straw, yes.
Did you know that there was a glass found near Mr. O'Keefe? Could you put that up, please, Cindy?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you talked about
What are we
cuts and
doing?
injuries. Did you,
Objection.
Sustained, it sounds like it's beyond the scope.
very well.
He ain't come out very well.
When you did test D, did you say the peak acceleration was 780 Gs?
Your Honor, may I refer to my notes?
Yes.
Page 11 of your report.
I think I lost an exhibit. Okay.
Is that what you described it as?
For test D,
Yes.
the acceleration of, we talking about the hand?
Yes.
780 Gs, yes.
780 Gs. Okay. When you did your comparison before you gave your opinions, you showed us a scuff on the exemplar vehicle, photo 77.
Objection.
Beyond the scope, Mr. Bowman.
Cause what are you doing?
A few more questions, Dr. Wolf. You showed us holes in Randy's sweatshirt from test F. You remember that?
Yes.
And you talked about what you would or wouldn't expect in a collision as far as holes. And did you say something like that was inconsistent with Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
That's what you said on redirect, right?
Thank
Correct.
you, Miss
Okay.
Gwen.
Did you consider whether there were holes in Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt separate from the holes in the arm?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. When you were making that
Oh,
opinion
no.
about consistent or inconsistent, did you ever consider whether there were holes in Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt other than the right arm?
Well, I know that there was cutting to the,
May I approach and retrieve the exhibit, Your Honor?
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Oh God.
Did you ever look at the back of the sweatshirt to see if there was any holes?
He
in the back of
is
the
really
sweatshirt
cutting
other
up.
than the right arm when you formed your opinion?
I don't recall.
Take a look at the back. You see other holes on the back Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt?
It appears I see one hole.
Not
Let
one.
me get a little closer so you can get a better look. I'll direct you to here, 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 here. Do you see more than one hole in the back of Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt?
Yes.
I don't give a damn, y'all. This could. I'll never believe she hit that man in her car.
When you were forming your opinions that the collision would be inconsistent to damage to Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt, did you consider that Mr. O'Keefe may have fallen or landed on his back?
Well, in looking at those holes, they're inconsistent with road rash. And again, to get those kind of holes, you have to have prolonged sliding contact on a rough surface.
Did you
Period, doctor.
consider that Mr. O'Keefe may have fallen or landed on his back?
Well, if you just fall and land on your back, you're not going to be sliding to get those abrasions and tearing. And again, those are not consistent with road rash.
Didn't ask that question.
But he gave it to you.
Sorry, can you?
Did you consider whether Mr. O'Keefe had fallen or landed on his back?
No.
Did you know about or consider the multiple holes on the back of his sweatshirt when you came and formulated your opinions?
No.
You did no studies whatsoever about the damage to the sweatshirt if he fell or landed on the cold, hard ground and had broken taillight shards in his clothing, did you?
What is Hank
No.
talking about right now?
I have no further questions.
Please, oh.
Just a moment, Your Honor. Very good.
What the hell was that? What in the hell was that?
If I may, Your Honor, very briefly.
Y'all remember we thought this case wasn't gonna go.
On Mr.
Not
Brennan.
the other one. It
Give
is.
me one name, very dramatically, of someone,
The objection sustained.
you were asked to give me one name to support using a 50 percentile hybrid 3 in testing forces on a 216-pound man. Do you remember that question?
Yes.
How about the name Judson Welcher? How about that name?
So the objection sustained.
Did Judson Welcher use a 50 percentile hybrid in his drop test?
Yes.
So that's sustained as to form.
What did Judson Welcher use in his drop
Period,
test?
AJ.
A hybrid 3 50th percentile male, the same that we use in our testing.
You were also asked whether or not using
I love
that hybrid 3 arm
I mean, AJ, I
with the
love-
same speed would have an effect on the force equation, on the force calculation, correct?
Correct.
And you agreed it might have a small effect on the force calculation, correct?
right.
Sustained as to form.
This is just foundational, Your Honor.
Sustained as to form.
How did you answer that question?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. Let me ask it this way. In the 29-mile-an-hour test with the hybrid 3 arm, were you going faster than 24 miles an hour?
Yes.
And what was the calculation again on the increased force that would be exerted on the taillight, on the arm area of the taillight? 14%?
Yes.
So sustained.
How much, what was the percentage that you calculated? The increase?
14%.
And did you find damage, even with the increase of 14%? Did you find damage on that exemplar taillight consistent with the extensive damage on the subject SUV?
All right.
No.
Can we have 201D put up one more time?
Baby, this is hilarious.
Mr. Brennan just asked you if you made note of these little red pieces, correct?
Correct.
Do you have any idea the size of those pieces? As you sit here.
Not without a scale of some sort, no.
So as you sit here, do you have any idea what the size of those pieces are?
I couldn't tell you as I sit here today, no.
No idea if they're a foot long?
Objection?
So the objection sustained.
He got to be paired because he's taking this like a champ.
You were asked, when shown this picture, if you accounted for this in terms of damage to the garment, the sweatshirt, right?
Correct.
What if I told you those were,
Objection?
So the objection's sustained. He said he doesn't know the sizes. That's the end of that, Mr. Jones.
I realize he said he doesn't know, he was
That's
asked
the
questions.
end
Your Honor.
of that.
Oh,
Do you have the, Mr. Wolk, do you have the picture
bro,
of the
I
tin?
cannot stand this.
The TIN, tin, the little round tin? Do you see that tin?
Yes.
Are you aware that all those pieces are inside that tin?
Objection?
Sustained. And the jurors disregard that.
Did you ever see this tin in your analysis?
I do recall seeing, yes, in the evidence photographs of all the fragments, yes.
In your experience, are very large pieces or very small pieces put in little tins, about 2 inches wide?
Sustained.
You were asked a question about
I'm sick of it.
the arm being pushed by the taillight. Asked a bunch of questions about that, right?
Correct.
You indicated, what did you say in terms of the contact by a vehicle pushing an arm?
It's going to move with the vehicle until it separates.
Okay. In your testing, how long did it take the hybrid 3 arm to get up to speed of the vehicle in the 24-mile-an-hour test?
About 10 milliseconds.
I'm sorry, say that again, louder.
10 milliseconds.
10 milliseconds, correct?
Correct.
So when you say the arm is being pushed, it's being hit, correct?
Objection?
The objection sustained and it's struck.
In every one of your tests, every single one of your tests, did any taillight fragment tear a hole in the sleeve of the shirt that you were testing?
No, there was no holes, punctures, fraying, nothing to the material.
Was there ever a defect in that garment in any of that testing other than the road rash that we saw in the 29-mile-an-hour direct impact?
That the only test that showed the holes and the abrasions was that full-on hit where the body was sliding on the ground. There was no test where the taillight caused any type of punctures, holes, or fraying to the material.
And in that test, what happened to the back of the license, the test license?
Destroyed.
Her legs is intact.
You heard I have follow-up questions.
Oh God. She just lets them go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Yeah, I don't think is Dr. Wolf ever going to get on the stand. I think I told you. I said they are going to drag Arca out. Now, surprisingly, it looks like Arca has only been on the stand. Today makes day 2. So it looks like they are probably going to take up 5 to 6 days. Well, this day 2, we've got Rentschler next. Maybe they'll take up 4 days of trial. 4 days. And it's crazy because Dr. Russell, I think, was on there 3 days. So we'll see. But I knew Arca was going to be a thorn in Hank's side because, in my opinion, when I watched the first trial, I was listening. I could see some mess, but Arca sealed the deal for me. When after Arca took the stand, I was more than ever convinced this man was not hit by a car. It wasn't just his injuries. It was just how they explained things and how, in my mind, his body should have looked after being hit at 24 miles an hour. And also, I don't believe that John, as a police officer, would just sit there and let that woman hit him with a car, drunk or not. I just don't see that. I don't see that at all. Paris says the fact of the matter is no matter what testing ARCA did, it's better and more accurate than everything aperture. She said amateur. I agree. I agree. No, I didn't see it, but I have to go find it, Catherine. I need to go find it. I have not seen it. I haven't seen it yet. The FBI needs to investigate. If they don't, double A. What I tell y'all, don't bring up the FBI to me because I feel like they gaslit us. Why would y'all poke your noses in the case if you weren't going to do anything? What was the purpose? 3,000 pages for what? For what?
On redirect, you again talked about the impact between an arm and the broken taillight.
Correct, yes.
And I had asked you on cross-examination or recross-examination whether that broken taillight could push the arm, which of course would create force or friction, yes?
Well, once it's moving at a common velocity, I'm just not understanding your question then.
If it's not a common velocity, if the broken taillight is,
Ask the question.
if the broken taillight is pushing the arm, which would mean the broken taillight is going at a faster speed than the arm. If it pushes the arm, the broken taillight can come in contact with the arm, can it?
It's moving with the arm, sir.
He's so annoyed by this
If.
question. Oh, he's so annoyed.
Okay, let me ask you this. Would you agree with this?
He's so
If you have an
annoyed.
arm that's actually struck at 25 miles per hour, you're going to have significantly greater damage, especially if there's a taillight that shatters. So if you have the taillight coming in, it's hitting the arm, it's moving forward into the arm. Do you agree with that?
Objection, about the source.
No,
Dr. Rentschler, do you agree with that?
Objection.
so I'm going to allow it, strike source.
Do you agree with that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
I can. If you have an arm that's actually struck at 25 miles per hour, you're going to have significantly greater damage, specifically if there's a taillight that shatters, so you have the taillight coming in, it's hitting the arm, and it's moving forward into the arm. Would you agree with that?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it.
In reference to the greater damage, we talk about damage to the arm?
Do you agree with that phrase?
I hate these type of questions.
The best way I can characterize is it's moving with the arm, sir.
So if that actually caused fracture of the taillight, then parts of the taillight are going to be pushed into the arm and likely embedded into the arm as the vehicle continues forward and pushes the arm out of the way.
Objection.
Do you agree with that?
I'm going to allow it.
No, you need to approach. I need to approach.
Bev's sick of their ass and they sick of her too. God, let me tell you something. For those of you guys that say you are so sick of of them and these sidebars, it's because I really do think the defense, they're doing a really great job of not wearing their emotions on their faces, but I really do think they feel like us when it comes to Bev. They take 1 inch and she makes them take 2 inches backwards. I really do feel like that is the issue right here. You can hear it in AJ's voice right there. Okay, Your Honor, I have to approach. At this point, what do you want these people to do? They're doing their best to defend her, but how can they go up against the state and Bev? The state and Bev. It's just some of the things that Bev allows. I'm not a lawyer, but I just feel like sometimes she really, really does too much. And it just seems like she's trying to cripple them when at the end of the day, it's the state that has the burden. It's the state that has the burden. It's not the defense. They're just trying to give their theory. They're trying to poke holes, right? Hell, she won't even let them poke holes right. She won't even let them poke holes right. And they are making their record. They are, Gwen. They are. But I think it's frustrating. Think about how frustrating it is for us. And we're just watching trial. they are actively in this, right? There is a woman's life on the line. And Bev just really seems, I wish someone would interview her and ask her if she heard that people really hate her. I really want to know. I'm sick of her.
I'm going to read this one more time, okay?
Okay.
Would you agree? If you have an arm that's actually struck at 25 miles per hour, you're going to have significantly greater damage, especially if there's a taillight that shatters. So you have the taillight coming in, it's hitting the arm, and it's moving forward into the arm. So if that actually caused fracture of the taillight, then parts of the taillight are going to be pushed into the arm and likely embedded into the arm as the vehicle continues forward and pushes the arm out of the way. Would you agree with that?
Again, my area of expertise is not injuries to the arm, so whether or not those fragments would be embedded or cause any type of damage to the arm, no. But what I would say is that I would agree with the taillight being pushed into the arm. It's going to cause the taillight to fracture, and then the arm will move with the taillight.
When you do a demonstration, isn't this exactly what you see? Could you play E again for me? Isn't this exactly what you see? Play that, please. And now, stop, please. If Randy is not restrained by a forklift, he is going to move with the car, correct?
Well, if it's just the arm, his arm's going to get accelerated and move, and then his body will be there still.
And that broken taillight, if Randy is not restrained on a forklift, is going to be pushed, like this says, by the arm, by the broken taillight, isn't it?
It's going to move with the arm.
Thank you.
All right, so jurors, we're going to take our morning recess. We'll see you in about 20 minutes.
Please rise for the jury. Right this way.
Okay, y'all, this is our morning recess. I think, how long did she say, y'all? Did she say 20 minutes? I want to say she said 20 minutes, but I want to be sure. She said, Pretty said, I need a break. Okay, she did say 20 minutes. So I know we're back on our regular schedule. Oh, no, y'all. They're gonna argue. Well, I forgot.
All right, so we're not going to do the voir dire right now of Dr. Lapasada because everybody needs a break. What we'll do is we'll take the 20-minute recess. Who's doing the director, Dr. Lapasada? Is that you, Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
All right, so what I would ask you to do is not do anything on your direct examination with Dr. Lapasada that involves the mention of dog bites or the evidence regarding motor vehicle experience, because we still need to have the voir dire. But I don't want the jury sitting out there any longer than need be, at least until the luncheon break. So without that, how long will it take you? Can you use the hour?
Different credentials, but Your Honor, half her credentials are the fact that she's an expert in dog bites and an expert in motor vehicles. I can get to her education and background, but
Okay, is that all in her resume?
it's all in her, it's all gonna be in her direct examination.
No, my question is it in her resume? Has the Commonwealth received notice regarding the dog bite stuff?
The Commonwealth has received the same resume that the court has received. I don't know specifically what her.
When Shannon got a real fake ass resume, what the hell is Bev doing?
We have absolutely no notice.
But the courses that reference dog bites are listed.
Say that again?
The courses that reference her teaching dog bite issue and pattern recognition, they're listed in the resume.
All right. We'll see you at 12.
I think I'm genuinely confused at how Bev is that on her resume? Like she's an ME, right? She's an ME. This is stuff that she's seen. I think with proper foundation, she should be able to speak about these things. But Bev, is that on her resume? As if it's not on her resume, she can't speak to it. When you can ask her questions, she's a medical examiner. Bev, we let Shannon get up here with a false ass resume. I mean, lied on 7, 8 different resumes. You still allowed him to speak. Now, a lot of us asked why wasn't his testimony completely stricken from the record? Because at this point, he's lied to the court. He's done all these things. Why, or limit what he has to say, whatever. But now she's asking for what's on this lady's resume. I don't know if it's a lady or a man. I think it's a woman. Okay. So this was my question, y'all, because I've been back. So there is, if I don't know if you guys have been following, can we check in on Turtle Boy case? Hold on, y'all, just a second. Let me see real quick. And let me just say that, first of all, switching, I'm going to look up Turtle Boy's case, but switching to Diddy's case, child, now the exotic dancers are getting paid for their for their interviews. Child, that I said, wait a minute. I'm going to go to Boston 25 and see if I see anything about Turtle Boy. His lives. I don't see anything on here about his case. She hasn't kissed, and I don't understand why theirs have to be limited. She wouldn't even let Michael Easter, I think it's Michael Easter, come on and testify about the proper way a police investigation should be done. Key, I just saw The Punisher. Baby, The Punisher has been making his rounds. He has been making his rounds. Well, I think we've all seen that Bev she's working for the prosecution. Oh, he's in Karen. Oh, he's done. He's having a bench trial in November. Okay. Well, he's having his bench trial in November, so there's that. Let's see, y'all. I'm going to see if I can see. Y'all wanted me to see the car. I'm going to see if I can see the car. I like to see I like to see him, like the impact on the car. Okay. I would like to see. I didn't see that. Well, Key, they're going to be everywhere. And Key, I just like to say, I was reading today's testimony. Looks like your friend, they didn't say her name, but I think your friend is popping up. Just show what, Kiss. Your friend's starting to pop up, Key. Jane Doe says that she was promised a yacht trip. He didn't take her, but she looked on Instagram and saw he took one of his other girlfriends. They didn't say her name, though. Didn't say her name. Oh, I got you, Kiss. I got you. They didn't say her name, though, Key, but I said, oh, this must be Key's little friend that they're talking about based on the dates that they are saying. Yeah. Based on the dates that they are saying. They said she came up. Well, Carisha's going to be in it, guys. She said, listen, Jane Doe says that she felt like she was being pressured to do things that the other girlfriends weren't. She said, I just felt like I'm the only one out here working. She was mad. She said he was capable of giving a certain lifestyle, care, and attention, but he was not giving it to her. And yes, Vitra said, and the podcast came up. Yes. Said he was on the podcast. And I said, oh, here we go. There's an actual trial, Amanda? Wow. It was key. That timeline matches up. And then they start talking about her podcast. I told y'all, the minute she told Gina, if Diddy told you to get on your knees and boom boom me, you do it. I knew after the Cassie's lawsuit came out, I knew she knew what type of lifestyle he lived. And he shared that part of himself with her. Maybe not fully, right? But she was aware. Carter, I don't think she was anyone's breaking point. Not at all. I don't think she was their breaking point because there were things that happened long before she came into the picture. Because if you listen to Cassie, he was doing things with Gina. I think he has a pattern. And the same pattern, I think the foolish part is people thinking that Young Miami is above the program. The same things that he was doing to her in the beginning, he did to every last one of them in the beginning, right? Every last one of them in the beginning, he took them out. We went and did this, we did that. He worked his way up until whatever. The only saving grace, if Carisha didn't get far in it, her saving grace was that lawsuit. For her career, she had to distance herself from him. She had to. She had to distance herself. I mean, when you look at his track record and all of the way all of these people testified, he was doing exactly what he was doing with these other women to her. He didn't out the bat start doing these things to these women. It took time. And I was thinking about that over on my long ass drive over here. I was thinking about the fact that she said that initially it was her, Jane Doe says that her and Diddy would make love. And it felt great. It was amazing. And then at some point, they would always have X-rated TV going on. And then eventually he would say, do you like that? Do you want that? Do you want to see it? I can make it happen. So he didn't start out that way. He just led up to it. Double A, I think everybody was okay with it at some point until they weren't, you know? Yes, glitchy. I think because I think people are confusing. I think people are confusing that, oh, Carisha wasn't going for this. Listen. I don't think that's the case at all. I also I don't think that's the case at all. I think they go with it until they don't want to anymore. But Mira, that's the point. I don't think it's the doing more for others, right? I think he starts off like that with all of them. Like he has a track record of this. He starts off like this with all of them. He's a billionaire. He was a multimillionaire. No problem showering you with gifts and doing things, but you've got to do this in order to keep it coming. Now, I will say now, listen, so far, I have not heard him put his hands on Jane Doe. I haven't heard him put his hands on Jane Doe. Well, Double A, they all are about that cash. Look at Jane Doe on the stand right now. Jane Doe says he was paying $10,000 for my apartment. And I felt like if I didn't do this, this was going to go away. Alice, please tell me why you think that. Every last woman that has taken this stand has testified to extreme. Cassie Cassie has testified. Look at all of the stuff Cassie got. Carisha dated that man for a few months. The stuff that she was getting does not compare to what these other Kim Porter. They were with these men for 10 years plus. 10 years plus. Gina, all of these people, Carisha was no different. I think the difference is to the comment. I ain't gonna say coming out. When you look and when you listen to the testimony, they all were getting a taste of this extravagant lifestyle. I hadn't seen it yet, Summer. I didn't say he didn't. I just said I hadn't heard it yet. Keep in mind, I've been moving around. I hadn't listened to all the testimony. I hadn't heard her say that. So she did testify to being hit. Shay, I believe so too. Well, Kaylane, I'm gonna say that you know how you guys we always talk about listening to the evidence. That lawsuit from that producer, he testifies that Carisha was different. Child, he testifies to seeing her in that pink substance that they call Tussie or whatever. He testified to that he had that in his lawsuit. And Jane Doe has testified to it. Capricorn has testified to it. Cassie has testified to it. So yeah, he's still paying for Jane Doe's house to this day. It's just a wild case. Kendria, we can think what we want. I don't know what to say she was doing because I haven't seen any evidence that points to that. I hadn't seen it. So I can't even say she was doing any of them at all, right? I just can't say that. Yep, I agree with you, Mira. My only thing is people saying, oh, she got more. I'm like, no, listen to the testimony of these women. They lived an extravagant lifestyle as well. Tasha, why do y'all think that though? Why do you guys think that she came in knowing it was a game? How do we know this? Here's my whole thought process on all of this is he seems to, I think his personality, his aura is a lot for women and it sucks women in. These women seem to go against their morals, things that they really believed in just for him. I don't know. Yeah, Key, I'm telling y'all, I would be siding with you guys. With Carisha, the only thing that changes things for me with her is that message. That's the only thing. Hold on, just work instead of doing all that. My daughter and I were talking about this, that sometimes women, what I have shown, y'all know how people love to say a lot of these IG models are ex-workers. I think Jane Doe has added some validity to that for me, because although this is not what she wanted, and maybe it started off, I want to do this for my lover, but it turned into I have to do this to keep up, to maintain my lifestyle. Sometimes people will go against their morals to live a certain lifestyle. I feel like, to an extent, I see what you were saying, Mira, but when they got together, he does elevate people around him, and I think the jury may struggle with that, because who's to say these people weren't doing these things so that he could elevate their lives? Cassie, the thing about Jane Doe, she expressed that she didn't want to do it, but then it doesn't sound like Cassie. But I do hear her consistently saying he was feeding her drugs so that she could get through these things. I think the jury has a tough decision. And I'm really interested to see after the case is over what they struggled with. How are they able to see the line between willing participant and victim? So I don't know. Mel, why are you taking these? What do you mean? And giving it to Didi, they had options. No, Mickey, I agree with that too. I agree with you as well. They did have options. I was simply stating that I think this case has shown me that a lot of these women would go against what they believed in, right? They went against what they were brought up to believe simply to have this lifestyle. And I specifically say that when it comes to Jane Doe was older. Jane Doe has dated men before, that have had status, that are wealthy. She's dated men before. She's not crazy, but she put herself in a predicament where I have to do this in order to get this. I don't want to take it away. No, I don't want to just give everything to Diddy. He's not the sole, he's not the only person to blame in this situation. I am just surprised at how many people people say you do a lot of crazy stuff for money, but for Jane Doe, it wasn't just money. She also really did love the man. She also seemed to really love him. I just think that's crazy. Cross is going to be really crazy with her. It's such a I really can't wait to hear what the jury's thinking, because I will never get online. I think Jane Doe, for me, in comparison to Cassie, I don't think she wanted to do that stuff. I do not. I don't. I think she was trying to please him, because again, I can't explain to y'all. I've never been around the man before, but I do believe he has he's charismatic, he's charming, he has aura, right? That just can't be denied. And I think these people were sucked in by it. They loved him. I mean, the man seemed like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And so many of them were willing to put up with the bad because of the little good that they got with it. Yeah. So I don't know. How far said Turtle Boy is starting now. Mira, not you quoting Future, girl. That's true too, Mira. I think the industry, just living that life in general, can be a lot for a lot of women. Kendria, I'm not objecting to the fact that he did not elevate Carisha. And I do personally feel like every person involved, listen to Capricorn Clark. Listen to all of his assistants. He does make people better around him. He can elevate your life. I'm not saying that he didn't. I agree with that. And look at his assistants. It's been years since they've worked with him, and they still credit him for the way they do certain things, the things that they've accomplished. They still credit him for it. Mickey, let me tell you what's so funny, Mickey, is I considered, and I didn't say it on here, but since you brought this up, I considered the trips, right? The talking them through it, telling people this is my fantasy, right? You want to make me happy, showing the pornography, showing that. I considered all that to be grooming. He gets you comfortable. It's stages. Okay, you're comfortable enough to watch porn with me. then you're comfortable enough to hear my fantasies, right? Jane Doe testified to sometimes calling some of the entertainers, as she calls them, and they would think they were talking to her. Diddy would be sitting beside her and she'd have her phone on the TV, so he could see these men's private parts. He could see what they were doing. All of this, like you said, is grooming. Jasmine, I've always felt like he had like this huge personality. I've always felt like that about him, which is why, I don't care what people say. Sometimes you have to groom people. I mean, you have to grieve people that you have grown to love. And I really am so sad. Like, damn. And it's not that he's a freaky man. That's not it. It's the other stuff that, for me, it's the other stuff that just tarnished everything about him. I will never look at him the same. Never. I will never look at him the same. And it's, again, I mean, whatever you choose to do in your bedroom, great. But all of the beating, the cursing, we're seeing the text messages, all of the, I still can't understand why he wanted other men's semen on his body. I mean, it's just all I can never look at him the same. And I do hate that, because at one point I think he exuded Black excellence. This man, I mean, he took the music industry by storm. I hate that happened. I hate it happened. So listening to like Jane Doe's testimony, all of this other evidence, I just do believe you are not above correction. It just kind of made the industry seem like really scary. Hold on, y'all. But anyway, sorry about that, guys. But anyway, we'll see what happens in that. But I looked at some of the testimony from today. She's still on direct examination. I'm not sure why. I think they anticipate her being up there for about, today's Monday. She'll probably be on the stand until Thursday, because cross-examination is going to be next. Don't know what cross-examination is going to look like, but I imagine it won't be pretty. It won't be pretty. I think he's probably going to attack the things that she said on the stand about not wanting to do this. They're going to ask why she kept doing it. Did she arrange the travel? Which some of it she said she did do. Some of it she did. So they're going to have to address that. So we'll see how that goes the rest of the trial. Hold on. I'm trying to see. Do y'all know what time they were coming back? Because I had Dr. Wolf pulled up to see some of the testing he did, but I didn't want to play it on here since the break was so short. I hope not. Look at her. Okay, y'all, let me put Dr. Wolf on. You gonna do this again?
If we could. Dr. Wolf, that's awfully fast. Can you
Try
get to a point where you're moving frame by frame just at the point of contact?
Am I able to display my screen without doing the... I'm trying to see how I can get this to work.
If you could just move forward frame by frame rather than...
I don't know that I can in the... Oh, I missed it.
Okay. It may be more difficult than we thought. Let me ask you a couple of questions
Sure.
based on that. Did you review that video in slow motion as well as at full speed?
Yes, from a frame-by-frame perspective.
And in terms of a couple of different questions about that particular test, when there's I'm asking Mr. Leslie to address the point on this.
Okay. What do you want to tell me, Mr. Leslie?
Bear with me a moment, Your Honor. I need to put on evidence gloves.
Now, why is Alessi putting on gloves?
Your Honor, the defense moves for a mistrial with prejudice based upon intentional misconduct that just occurred before the court and for the jury. And what I'd like to do, Your Honor, this regards the hoodie, and this regards questioning and representations and questioning by Mr. Brennan. And what I'd like to and need to do, Your Honor, is to have two documents marked as exhibits, and then I am going to use Exhibit 88, which is an evidence, which is the hoodie, which is why I'm putting on the evidence gloves, and it will become quite obvious very shortly what the issues are.
All right, so what are the things that you want to have marked?
What I would like to have marked
Now, what
I would
happened?
like to have marked the first document, and I want to get the specific title. These two documents are from the criminalist's file, specifically Ms. Maureen Hartnett's notes regarding cuttings from the hoodie sweatshirt that's in the crime lab file folder.
Okay.
So the first is the back of the hoodie. So with Your Honor's permission, I would have that marked for identification.
Exhibit YYY. Friday.
And may I see that, please? Okay.
That is the back of the hoodie, Your Honor. And if I could please have the next marked in order exhibit for identification.
Exhibit ZZZ for the identification.
Just give me a minute to read this, Mr. Leslie.
Yes, Your Honor.
So is it that there are no holes in the back? There were no holes in the back of the sweatshirt?
That's only part of it, but that is in fact the case, Your Honor.
Okay. I can't tell entirely from ZZZ, but if that's your argument, why, for identification appears to support that.
Your Honor, may I have the exhibits marked for identification back for my argument?
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Madam Court Reporter. Your Honor, what we just saw is Attorney Brennan question Dr. Wolf with regard to the hoodie sweatshirt that heretofore has been in the plastic casing for trial. And this is what happened was Attorney Brennan held up the casing with the hoodie sweatshirt, went to the back of the hoodie sweatshirt. First point to note, Mr. Brennan did not show Mr. Jackson the back of the hoodie sweatshirt, didn't give Mr. Jackson an opportunity to look at it.
Can I just ask a question? I noticed that it was over here at the witness stand this morning, so I assumed everyone was aware that something was going to happen with it. Is that not the case, Mr. Jackson?
That is not the case, Your Honor.
Okay.
The first time I realized that line
Okay.
of question was going to be asked was when Mr. Brennan pulled the casing out.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Leslie.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, to do it in order, Mr. Brennan takes the hoodie sweatshirt in the casing, without notice, shows it to Dr. Wolf, and shows the back of the hoodie, which has certain holes, and I'm going to limit calling them holes to do this chronologically. I'm going to refer to exactly what they are in moments.
Okay, so I need to see it. I know you've got gloves on. Where is it right now? It would help me if you held it up for me now,
Absolutely, Your
Mr.
Honor.
Leslie.
So, here is the back
Okay,
of the hoodie.
okay. All right, thank you.
It's very obvious that these are cutting holes cut by the criminalist. And I'm going to get to back to this in a moment.